Welcome to listening to stories on Kevin TV audiobook channel, Chapter 571, Flames of the Fire Elementals. Merlin pulled some of the gems they gathered from the lower floor and sat beside the two, healing them just enough to stabilize and stop their bleeding. As she made sure they were stable, Merlin dragged them toward the stairs as fast as she could, starting with Amber, who was in a far more critical condition than Arad. When Merlin managed to drag both of them inside the stairs to avoid the searing heat of the desert, she finally started inspecting their wounds in detail. As she expected, Amber had it far worse than Arad. She lost her left forearm up to the elbow, and the muscles of her upper arm had also burned, causing them to cease function. The leftover stem tip was burnt to a crisp, causing parts to start falling apart. Looking above, Merlin could see cracks spreading from the burned arm up to Amber's left cheek and chest. The heat had rapidly spread across her veins and seared the muscles of her upper left side. With a worried face, Merlin checked Amber's left eye only to find it white like those of cooked fish. Blinded, I doubt any of the muscles of this side would even work. She checked inside her mouth, but luckily her teeth seemed to have survived. If the heat spread through her veins, it might have damaged the heart since it's also leaning toward the left side. Merlin put her head on Amber's chest to listen to her pulse. Sounds normal to me, but I'm no healer. She pulled another gem and put it on Amber's chest. I also fear your left lung might be burned, so this should be needed. Merlin started healing Amber's chest, even though she couldn't see any visible injuries besides burns on the skin. After that, she checked her lower side, finding the fire cracks spreading down to her hips and thighs. Just to be sure, she healed her there too. Hopefully you're stable now. She turned toward Arad, pulling two gems. You might be stuck in a human's body, but I doubt you will die as easily as one. She looked at his chest. Arad's skin was falling apart in some places and remained intact in others. With a single touch, Merlin could see ribs at his side, which made her flinch. You're quite durable. She started healing him. You're lucky the acid doesn't seem to have leaked into your body, or at least enough to kill you. Arad's skin quickly healed and his wounds closed. Now a moment to clear the toxins from your blood. She cracked the second gem above him, starting a second healing. Gosh! Arad gasped, waking immediately as soon as the toxins left his blood. What happened? He looked around. Calm down, it's over, Merlin said, waving her hand for him to lie down. The boss ate you. At that moment, Arad's memories started to come back. Right after throwing Amber and Merlin away, he got swallowed by the massive boss worm. Unlike how it appeared at first, Arad didn't immediately lose consciousness. As he trailed down the boss's throat, he used his tremor sense to locate the monster's heart and started unleashing his flame to reach it. But that quickly backfired as it caused the mucus surrounding the boss's digestive system to evaporate and saturate what little air was there, increasing the toxin's concentration and knocking Arad immediately. If he used anything besides fire, he might have killed the boss from the inside out. Arad then turned aside, seeing Amber lying beside him. What happened to her? He asked. His eyes panned around her burned arm and the wounds spreading across her body. The boss did this? No, Merlin replied. It was her own magic. She stood and opened the door, showing Arad the large glass crater created by Amber's spell. She blasted the boss and 7 worms pulled you out of his stomach and flew here all with one spell. She said, we can't beat it. Arad gasped. Since she would end up like this, Merlin looked at the unconscious Amber. Forget about red dragons. She has the blood of a fire elemental. Those things are living flames. The heat they can generate surpasses all even their mere existence can cause the air around them to combust. Dragons use their mana as fuel to ignite the fire, but elementals work the other way around. They use large amounts of mana to ignite a single spark that's hot enough to break down the moisture in the air into hydrogen and oxygen. Those two elements then combust instantly, starting a horrid chain reaction that expands outward in a violent manner, akin to an explosion. The elementals then use their ability to control fire to keep the blast under control and use it to attack their targets. Water is a part of everything, immune to fire or otherwise. Unless the target is a fire elemental, they won't survive a hit without getting burned. Even a fire dragon cannot resist the flames of an elemental. Arid approached Amber, sitting by her side and staring at her arm. She's a human, made of flesh and bones, water. Her body is like firewood to her flames, Merlin said, sitting beside Arad. Can't she control those flames? Fire elementals are made of fire. That is why they are immune to their own flames. They never developed a way to protect themselves from their fire, and we humans don't have the high intelligence needed to survive such power unscathed. Merlin looked at Amber's arm. The fact she managed to exert so much control that she survived with only one arm missing is astounding. If she didn't, her whole body would have combusted alongside this whole layer, killing everyone and everything here. Those flames are hot, Arad said. They can burn fire dragons. I doubt that anything less than a being made of literal fire could survive what she smacked the boss with, Merlin sighed. Having so much power is both a curse and a blessing. You think so? I would say, any amount of abnormal power is a curse when you only have a human body. She looked at her hand. Arad looked out the door at the glass formation. So, this is why she cast magic like a wizard and not as a sorcerer. The most up-to-date novels are published on Chapter 572 Into the Fifth Layer. Chapter 572 Into the Fifth Layer. Amber opened her eyes to a sharp pain radiating from her left arm up to her head. She immediately noticed a numb feeling around her left eye while she could only see from the right one. She gasped, coughing as the scent of blood and burnt flesh gushed out of her lungs. I'm still in one piece. She tried to sit, supporting her body with her right hand. Don't move, Merlin said, staring at her. I'm not a healer, so expect the equivalent of sticking paper to the wall with spit. Amber smiled. A shitty job, but it's good enough. She looked at her burned left arm. I expected to lose everything up to my shoulder. The muscles are burned. You might have as well lost the whole arm, Merlin replied. You might not want to use that again. Aren't you the one who urged me to try and control my powers? Amber giggled. But I understand what you mean. I should have tried using something smaller. Merlin sat beside her, looking around. It's not like you lack control. The magic you're trying to use isn't compatible with anything water-based like flesh. Is Arad okay? Amber replied. I'm sure I pulled him out of the boss, but I can't remember much after that. He's as healthy as a horse. It didn't take much healing to get him up, and he woke up almost immediately. Merlin smiled. Those muscles of his protected his organs from the acid long enough. Probably I should take his advice and work on getting more muscles on me. Amber giggled. But that won't work, would it? It won't, since muscles have water. You will be just adding fuel to the fire. So, where is Arad? Amber looked at her. He climbed the stairs to check the fifth layer. Merlin looked up. We couldn't carry you upstairs in your condition. What do you think he will find? Merlin started thinking, scratching her chin. The first layer was a flat grassland and the second was a mud swamp. The third is a city that could be turned into a safe layer, and this one is a scorching desert. So, the fifth layer could be. Amber tilted her head. Something that contrasts this layer, probably a cold layer with thick trees. We might even find a settlement in the sixth layer to keep the pattern. Tap, tap, tap. The two looked up, hearing footsteps trailing down the stairs. He's coming back. As Arad approached, Merlin stood and asked, What did you find? As you said, it's cold up there. Arad looked down at them. A snowy jungle filled with giant and white hairy apes. Merlin scratched her head. How did they look? Long legs and large feet, or short legs and bulky torso? I have seen both, and some were six-armed small ones that barely reached 2 meters tall, Arad replied. Yeti, Bigfoot, and Asura baboons. Merlin mumbled. It isn't getting easier. Amber, how are you feeling? The moment Arad saw Amber sitting beside Merlin, he rushed toward her. I'm fine, she smiled. Although I need some healing magic once we're out. I don't know if I can afford it, though. Don't worry about that. I'm paying for everything. You saved my life, Arad looked at her. Well, I'm relying on you for that, she giggled. She touched her satchel with her hand. The teleportation crystal there can only get 2 people out, and she won't be one of them. Merlin stood and approached Arad and Amber. I'm fighting the monsters of the 5th layer. You 2 can't face them. They're ice monsters, Arad looked at her. I can use fire, so leave them to me. That would be the case if we're fighting in normal conditions. Merlin looked at him. Their claws naturally exert cold magic to freeze their targets. In a frozen environment, the effect stacks rapidly, and it's hard to deal with. That won't do. Arad stared at her. By the time their claws touch you so you can absorb their magic, they would be already tearing into your skin. You cast magic before their claws rip your body in half. Merlin smiled. How fast do you think I can activate magic? She stared at him. The uncaring confidence in her eyes made it clear she wasn't joking. Those monsters' claws don't have that much magic in them. It's only deadly since it stacks. What could you do with such little mana? Amber looked at her. You would get at most 50. Merlin giggled. It's true that I might not be able to use recycling with it here, but 50 mana is enough to cast that spell. Amber blinked with a surprised face. You aren't talking about that. An evil smile crossed Merlin's face. Physical enchantments. Since I'm a caster, I spent years optimizing the spell for my body that I don't need that much mana to keep it up. How much power could such a spell get you? Arad stared at her. And for how long? I can get double your current strength for a minute for just 20 mana. That means I would have around 2 minutes and a half to clear the layer. Merlin looked down with a grin on her face. That if they were stupid enough to try hitting me with their claws, but they monkeys, they would do it. I would fight with you as well. Arad cracked his neck and stared at Amber. You rest for this layer. You can't fight in that state. I can still fight. Amber tried to stand. Those wounds don't make it impossible to cast spells. Arad looked at Merlin. What do you say? Casting magic would agitate her wounds. It's like throwing salt on them. She stared at Amber. Don't cast magic, just sit inside the stairs and wait. Arad approached Amber and carried her. I already ignited a fighter upstairs at the 5th layer. You can rest by, it's said to warm up. I want to fight. Arad closed his eyes, thinking for a second. There's a hard line between what you want and what you should do. He opened his eyes, staring at her. For the party's survival, you must learn that. Arad is right. Merlin looked at her. You must rest for now to fight later. Read latest chapters at tier only chapter 573, Apes of the Snowy Jungle. Chapter 573, Apes of the Snowy Jungle. Arad carried Amber in his arms and slowly trailed up the stairs, with Merlin following shortly after. It's getting colder. He opened his palm to ignite a small flame beside Amber. You don't need to worry about me. Amber looked at him. Carrying me is enough. I'm the only one with decent clothes, after all. Even with her Rob's left arm burned and having a massive hole at its side, it still amounted to far larger coverage compared to the topless Arad and the one shirt, Merlin. It's frozen up there. Arad looked at her. Once we reach it, you stay put beside the heat while we clear the layer. I know, you don't need to remind me. Merlin stared at them. You aren't fighting either, Arad. She climbed the stairs a bit faster, getting ahead of Arad. I'm the one clearing the layer. You 2 have already taken enough damage. We're here. Arad put Amber down and created a small flame with a fireball at her side. Wait a bit, Arad. He opened the door, and a burst of cold wind rushed out, causing the 2 women to flinch. I'll be back. After a minute, he walked back in with a handful of branches from the jungle. Those should do. He threw them into the flame, increasing its heat until they dried and started burning like proper firewood. Merlin smiled. Wait by the flames. She walked toward the door, stepping outside for a few seconds. Arad kept looking at the door, and she quickly rushed back in, shaking like a dancer on a stage. Want me to come with you? Arad stared at her, and she looked away. If you please. He smiled. I told you it's too cold there. He walked to her side, lifting his palm to create a tiny fireball. You need someone to heat you up, at least until you get magic from the apes. I hate it that you're right, she growled. A half-naked woman in the freezing snow, my toes would necrose with frostbite before I get to fight any monster. Arad turned toward Merlin and carried her. You won't walk in the snow until we find an ape, he smiled. She giggled. Aren't you a gentleman? What does that even mean? He started walking toward the door. Just how it sounds, a man that is gentle. Then you're horribly wrong. I'm neither a man nor gentle. They walked outside. You're dealing with a violent dragon. Your rod walked with her into the forest, and it didn't take them long to hear a loud scream akin to a woman's howl of death. That sounds like a cougar. Merlin looked at the trees. No, it's a yeti. Thud, 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 thud. Arad looked back, seeing a large shadow slowly walking behind the trees. With each step, the ground quaked. Its one with the big feet cracked. Arad jumped back the moment his senses ticked, barely dodging a rain of stones from the trees. His eyes glared up. You bastards are too silent, he smiled, seeing the 6-armed Asura baboons glaring down at him with stones in their hands. Baboons, apes, chimps, and even weird-looking monkeys, Merlin growled. There is more than one type of demon apes there. Swash. Arad swung Merlin to his back, giving her a piggyback ride. Hold tight, and don't forget to steal any magic you can. Arad lifted his arms as Merlin held to his neck. He opened his mouth and screamed, pounding his chest to mimic what he had seen from the monsters here. The demon apes stared at him for a moment in silence and then roared in rage, bam. From the woods, a yeti lunged out like a raging gorilla, swinging his massive fist at Arad's face. Arad blinked, seeing the yeti's fist clenched. It knew Merlin would absorb the magic of their claws. Arad bent down, dodging the strike and swinging his quarterstaff at the yeti's head. Roar! The yeti opened his jaw, biting the staff and twisting his body backward, pulling Arad with ease. Fire bolt. A bolt of fire rushed out of Arad's left hand, hitting the yeti's throat and forcing him to let go of the quarterstaff. Crack out of nowhere. Arad could see a massive foot approaching from the side of his vision. Instinctively, he lifted his left arm and blocked thwack. Arad's body flew across the forest, rolling with Merlin on the snow. I wondered when you would come out. Arad looked forward, seeing Bigfoot standing beside the yeti, smiling. A puncher and a kicker. Arad stood with Merlin clinging onto his back. Pew stones flew at them at a blinding speed, but Arad swung his staff, deflecting them and swatting one toward the yeti, gazing at his face. Arad giggled. It's simple, isn't it? He pointed the staff at the yeti and Bigfoot. Punching, kicking, and throwing stones, primal, aren't you? He lifted the quarterstaff, pointing at the sky. Big stick, bam, bam. He then pounded his chest, growling with the last pound. He opened his fist, extending 2 fingers out with fire cracking between them as he lowered his hand to his side, leaving a trail of fire. And fire. Arad looked at the apes with a grin on his face. Ooh! Oh! The yeti screamed, and so did Bigfoot, glaring at Arad as they pounded their chests. Ooh, oh, ah, Arad screamed back at them, doing the same. Merlin stared at the back of Arad's head as she clung to his neck. He's fighting them on their own ground. Arad might have been a dragon before, but he's a human now. Arad, don't fight them head-on, you're a human now. Primate muscles are several times denser than humans. You won't win, especially since they're larger than you, she said, but Arad didn't reply. All reason got thrown out of the window. Arad's goal isn't winning. It's forcing one of the monsters to swing its claws. He got a big stick, he got fire, and he got muscles and height. His mind is slowly trying to mimic them, stealing their violent fighting style. This content is taken from Chapter 574, A Predator on the Snow. Chapter 574, A Predator on the Snow, G.A. Arad shouted, swinging his fist at the yeti and smacking him in the face. Flames gushed from his elbow, pushing his fist forward and sending the yeti rolling back. The Yeti gasped, opening his teary eyes to look up, only to see Arad flying toward him with a burning fist. Crack! Bigfoot jumped at Arad, swinging a forward kick. Arad lifted his left arm and blocked the kick, barely managing not to get blown away. Bigfoot smiled, grabbing Arad's arm with his foot. He then stood on his hands and swung Arad into the air. Arad smiled, swinging his quarterstaff down at Bigfoot's crotch and smashing it. Bigfoot cried, his toes opening and letting go of Arad's arm, but since he already picked up momentum, Arad flew toward the demonic baboons-infested trees. Crack! Arad caught one of the tree branches with his hand, looking around to see tens of six-armed chimps and monkeys pouncing at him. Swash! He spun his quarterstaff, smacking two chimps down, and grabbed the third by the neck, swinging him at the others. At that moment, the monkeys tried snatching Merlin from his back, but they were met with a fire blast coming from his foot. They can't reach her as long as Arad is alert. The baboons were smart enough to understand it. Arad isn't just protecting Merlin on his back, he's actively using her as a bait. Those who try to grab her are exposing themselves, and he's taking that chance to kill them. Ooh! A baboon growled, signaling to the rest that going after Merlin was a trap. Kill Arad first, then deal with her later. Two chimps lunged at Arad from both sides, aiming to grab his arms and snatch the quarterstaff. Bam! Arad jumped into the sky, using jets of fire from his feet to burn the trees. The Yeti had already recovered. He stood and picked a large stone, throwing it at Arad. Arad's barely dodged the stone. Ooh! He growled at the Yeti, mocking his aim. Those weren't words, not something that could be understood, but the Yeti got it. That mocking grin on Arad's face, that high-pitched growl infuriated him. Bam! Arad unleashed a massive burst of fire from beneath his feet, propelling himself toward the Yeti at an incredible speed. Crack! Bigfoot jumped back into the fight, blocking Arad's drop quarterstaff slam with a kick. The ruler of the labyrinth had informed them about the massive black-haired human. Out of the three intruders, he's the biggest problem. Even with all of his powers sealed, he still can't be stopped. Wash! Arad spun in place, giving Bigfoot a fire kick to the crotch once again. The monster cried, rolling back in the snow in agony. War! The Yeti rushed in, swinging his fist at Arad's face. Vam! Arad dodged the strike, punching him in the guts. Fire, fist bam. The Yeti flew back, and Arad rushed after him, dodging the barrage of stones thrown by the demon baboons. The moment the Yeti looked up, Arad smacked him in the face with the quarterstaff, spinning for a second and a third hit on his torso. Enraged and in pain, the Yeti flailed his arms, pushing Arad's quarterstaff away and rushing with his jaw open. His arms and fists aren't his only weapon. Like everyone else, his massive jaw gave him a powerful bite. Arad swung his fist, smacking the Yeti's jaw with his backhand before he could bite him. He then quickly went in for a bite of his own, ripping the monster's nose. The baboons in the trees went silent as the Yeti stood there, shocked as blood dripped across his lips and teeth dripping on the white snow. Arad opened his jaw, spitting the Yeti's nose on the snow as he glared at them. They could feel it. Bigfoot stared back, shocked. Arad might look human, but the thing standing there glaring back at them wasn't a human. Some of the baboons turned away to run as Arad took one step toward the Yeti. They can see it in his eyes, an apex predator glaring back at them with hunger and bloodthirst swirling in his soul. That's a dragon, not a human. Blug! Merlin extended her head to the side. Puking. Arad, slow down a bit. Arad stopped, looking back at her. Are you all right? I rode over 1,000 horses, and you're 990 of them, she mumbled. You're shaking my organs as if I'm a wine bottle at a party. Sorry, Arad sighed, but you have to deal with it. He cracked his fist on the quarterstaff. Those apes seem to have misunderstood something. He glared at them. I'm not relying on her plan, he pointed at Merlin. You're my prey, not hers. Wait a moment, Merlin gasped, her neck jolting back as Arad burst forth at Bigfoot, blitzing him with a burning kick to the face. Bigfoot rolled on the ground, bouncing off a tree only for Arad to give him a second kick to the face. Roar! The Yeti emerged from the snow, his roar distorted due to his severed nose. He swung his arm at Arad's head. Your attacks are simple and easy to predict. After facing Alcott, Nina, and countless monsters that think the likes of you would never hit me. Arad wiggled, bending his torso and dodging the strike. Merlin gasped as the Yeti's arm barely missed her. Using that momentum, Arad swung his quarterstaff at the Yeti's legs, tripping him down, and before he could hit the ground, Arad's fist burst with flames as he punched him in the face, sending him flying between the trees. Crackle, crackle. The trees started shaking, and Arad sighed. It's about time. Those apes were slowly getting on my nerves. Tens of Yeti emerged from between the trees as a deep voice growled behind them. Then I will give you more of them. A massive Yeti standing at almost 5 feet tall glared at Arad from the snow.
Abominable Yeti? Merlin gasped. That wasn't the only one. That one with the big feet is the leader of the demon apes.
This large one leads the Yeti, and he should be the one guarding the stairs. The abominable Yeti lifted his hand and dropped it down. Kill him, he shouted, and all the Yetis lunged forward with those numbers. Arad smiled. There is bound to be an idiot who pulls his claws. Make sure to catch him before you get hit. Fire ignited in his fists, updated from Ream Chapter 575, Learning to Strike. Chapter 575, Learning to Strike.
Swash.
Arad dodged the Yetis' attacks, jumping into the sky and pointing his hand down. Flamethrower, the Yetis backed away and lifted boulders. A split second later, Arad got smacked in the face and chest with the countless barrage of thrown stones. He can dodge one or two, but not tens of them. Thud. Arad fell on the snow and stood immediately, seeing the Yetis lunging at him all at once. He blocked several fists and smacked a Yeti to the trees with the quarterstaff. Crack. A Yeti caught Arad's quarterstaff and punched him in the face. Crack, crack, crack. The other Yetis took the chance to start swinging down. The countless apes managed to take Arad out of his rhythm. That's it, the abominable Yeti smiled. Pile the hits. Don't give a chance to fight back. He's stronger than you individually, but numbers always win. Ooh, a Yeti growled, swinging his claws on Arad's neck as he saw him falling. You fool! The abominable Yeti screamed, trying to throw a stone to kill the idiot before it all fell apart, but he was late. Merlin extended her hand from Arad's back with an empty glare on her face, the beast's claws barely grazing her skin. A Yeti's claws are naturally enchanted with ice magic to freeze whatever they scratch. It's not something they can disable, just like how humans can't disable the keratin in their nails, but it's still magic, and one that should belong to Merlin. Crackle. The Yeti's arm got ripped apart alongside his left eye as a bolt of lightning flashed in the middle of the battlefield. Everyone stopped moving and looked at Arad. Merlin was nowhere to be seen. Give me this. One of the Yetis in the back felt two small hands opening his right palm with an incredible amount of force, grasping his claws. Ebra, quant, more brack, more. He quickly turned, swinging his fist only to find his other arm missing. The abominable Yeti gasped. Where did she go? His eyes panned through the trees. Crack. For a split second, he only saw a glimpse of Merlin's face before he got punched across the whole forest. Tap, tap, tap! As the abominable Yeti's body crushed trees on his way. Merlin ran after him at a blinding speed, her whole body covered with glowing white tattoos crackling with magic, akin to lightning. Those tattoos are the markings left by her magic, the channels that support her body, muscles, and bones to increase their power. Like a super-powered exoskeleton made of magic, but it had a time limit as to what little mana she got from the Yeti's claws. It wouldn't last for long. Crack! Merlin ran past the flying abominable Yeti and kicked him in the face, sending him rolling in another direction, back. The Yetis kept pummeling Arad down as Bigfoot barely managed to stand, his knees shaking and his face paler than it was ever before. Crack, 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 Skiro. Punches, kicks, stones, the apes dropped everything they could on Arad, sending him flying between them like a ball. Bigfoot took a stance, ready to get a revenge kick in, aiming at Arad's crotch. But then Arad opened his mouth, lifting his hands up. Clap. He clapped in the air, lowering his touching palm down to his chest. Merlin isn't on his back, so she would be fine. Fire expansion, blast furnace, crackle. A spark of fire ignited from Arad's back, exploding into a 10-meter radius fireball. The Yetis screamed as their fur caught on flames, and Bigfoot took a step back. The fireball didn't seem to disappear. It remained there, centered around Arad. She's finally off my back. Arad took a step forward, and the expansion moved with him. I can burn everything now. He lifted his quarterstaff from the ground. Bigfoot and the Yetis thought that Arad was using Merlin on his back as an advantage to kill everyone who ignored him and attacked her, or a shield to protect himself from their freezing claws, but they were wrong. She was, in fact, holding him back. He couldn't unleash powerful flames, as they would burn her as well, and he also couldn't accelerate massively, so he wouldn't kill her. The fire expansion suddenly disappeared after burning tens of the Yetis. Bigfoot stared around, searching for Arad in the midst of blinding vapor filling the air. Thud. Arad appeared behind Bigfoot, bent a bit while taking a deep breath, swinging his open palm. For a kicker like Bigfoot, its main weapon was his weakness. The powerful kicks of his legs are powered by a single pair of large and powerful muscles, and in apes, that was the only place devoid of protective fur. Slap! Arad slapped Bigfoot on the butt, ripping his skin and muscles apart. Bigfoot screamed his life out as his legs gave up with the muscles torn apart. Arad spun in place, unleashing an uppercut that hit the falling Bigfoot's side on the left kidney, going beneath his ribs, pushing on the stomach, lung, and heart, which were slightly on the left side, with fire gushing down from Arad's elbow. Bigfoot got blasted upward into the treetop. Arad never bothered protecting his organs, as the void did that for him. But now that he was bound to a human body and got hit several times, he started to notice how much he hated getting hit in certain places. The crotch, kidneys, liver, guts, and chest, all of them hurt like hell. So why doesn't he aim for them in fights? The abominable Yeti smacked on a wall, legs first, lunging right back toward Merlin with a loud roar, "You must die," swinging a punch at her. Merlin clenched her fist, blocking the abominable Yeti's punch with one of her own. He punched again, and she punched his fist immediately. "What happened to the monsters looking like me?" She smiled. "At least then they were ugly cute. Now you're just a deformed, ugly mess," she warned us about you. The abominable Yeti roared. "We shouldn't let you get magic," he smiled. "And if we did, at least it shouldn't be clean. Blood." Blood gushed out of Merlin's nose. The pressure leaked into my body. The mana wasn't stable. She smiled. "I expected 2 minutes and a half, but with this, I barely had 1 minute." "To think your ape brains actually rigged your mana?" she shouted with a crazed smile. "I wonder what your hide would look like as a carpet in my living room." She started getting mad. New novel chapters are published on Wirhiek. OM Chapter 576, The Vengeful Wizard. Chapter 576, The Vengeful Wizard. Crackle. Merlin flashed forward, swinging her fist at the abominable Yeti's face, cracking his lower jaw. 1 minute is more than enough to destroy this whole labyrinth. She grabbed him by the head. "You won't. It's here that you die," he roared, trying to grab her. Merlin swung her empty hand, skimping across his claws in the blink of an eye and absorbing all the magic they had. She then kicked him in the guts. "Come, I will take you on a trip all the way to that bitch at the top. Clap!" With a thunderclap and the abominable Yeti in her hand, Merlin flashed across the layer, heading toward Arad and the other Yetis. Arad was fighting the other Yetis, lunging from one to another, smacking them left and right as he protected himself with fire. But then suddenly a lightning bolt flashed around him, ripping all the Yeti's palms off before he could even notice. "What?" he gasped, but then Merlin landed beside him, the abominable Yeti foaming in her hand as the countless palms fell, with the air filled with the ape's screams. Merlin looked at Arad, smiling. "Arad, you can rest now. It's now my responsibility to deal with this labyrinth." Wait, what are you talking about? Arad gasped. Just like Alcott and Nina, Merlin is an S-rank wizard out of the three. It's her power that's extremely hard to grasp. Alcott is known as the one dragons fear and respect. Nina is both an unstoppable force and an unbreakable wall. Yet Merlin was left with nothing more than the title of an archmage. You can always come back if you want. The tower is always open for you. Arad remembered that halfling's words, what could Merlin have, so they want her back. Enchant, unbreakable body, Merlin smiled, and the abominable Yeti's body turned into a metallic hue. Enjoy the pain, ape. She stared down at him. This spell makes you undestructive for a day by turning your skin into an enchanted metal. You can't even move, and your skin is technically all peeled at the moment the spell is cast. She giggled. I'm sure you want to scream, but I only need your hide for my living room. She swung her arm, throwing him up. Enchant burst. A large red circle appeared on the ape's stomach, charging as it sucked half of Merlin's mana. Now be my shovel. A massive jet of flame emerged from the circle, blasting the abominable Yeti at the layer's ceiling. Arad, go bring Amber. We're retrieving your power and leaving, she said with a smile as the abominable Yeti burst through the layers, reaching the 10th layer and leaving a massive hole after him, from which a flood of water and dried lava fell. Merlin looked up with a smile on her face. I can feel it from here. The 10th layer is oozing with mana. You bitch don't want me reaching you. But remember my words, I'm going to feed you to pigs. From the hole, all the way from the 10th layer, 2 red eyes glared down at Merlin. She broke through. The woman there sighed, for fuck's sake, I can't even decide who's the biggest problem. The dragon who's still unstoppable even after losing all of his power, the fire elemental sorceress who acts like a tactical weapon of mass destruction, or the mad wizard of the tower, Merlin the enchantress. Merlin, what's going on? Amber shouted, as Arad reached Merlin with her on his back. Got enough mana to blast a hole directly to the 10th layer? Merlin looked at them. I do have some left, so we're going up. You sure? We don't know what awaits us up there. What awaits us is a woman that's a part succubus, a part red dragon, a part devil, a part djinn, and a part demon. Merlin looked up. I could feel her mana from here. Just one of those is a problem, Arad said. We sure can't beat her as we are now. She shouldn't be a problem. Merlin looked up. I have some mana left. The moment we get there, I will snatch Arad's power back and take as much as I can from mine. Then we gang up on her and invert her organs inside out. That's risky. Amber stared at her. Arad looked back at Amber's severed arm. You know what? He smiled. Is she edible? You can have her? Merlin smiled. You sure need food. What? Amber stared at him. Monster who established themselves as rulers on my land gets a quick pass onto my dinner, he growled, his eyes glowing with a red flare. I knew I could count on you. She approached him. Arad shifted Amber into his arms as Merlin climbed on his back. Mech seems to have exited the labyrinth. Barrier, a crystal ball appeared around his body. The magic pushed the snow away and filled it with warm air. Hang on, well, it's going to be a rough ride. Flames started gushing out from beneath his feet. Bam! Arad blasted into the sky, melting the snow off a large chunk of the devastated forest. Like a bolt, he flew toward the hole. Merlin made and flew through it directly into the 6th layer, a dried ocean with fish still suffocating on the empty seabed. This layer was filled with seawater, and it all drained. Going through it would have been almost impossible. Merlin pointed with a grin on her face. It's my obelith. Look there. Arad looked, seeing what looked like the unholy child of a whale and a squid with one massive eye where his nose should be. It's already dying. Arad looked up as he flew directly to the 7th layer, feeling the scorching heat gush at them, a volcanic layer of molten lava and red-hot stones. The stairs, Amber pointed. The stairs had their door open, with lava already getting inside. If the lava got inside, that means it must have dried upon contacting the 6th layer of water. Those stairs should be clogged with solid stone for at least several meters, if not tens. I'm a good digger, but not in this form, Arad replied as he flew straight into the 8th layer. The moment they got out, a sickening sweet smell filled the air as they looked around, and there were hundreds of naked women written on the ground. Some of them were killed by the abominable yeti that Merlin threw. "What in the hell?" Amber cried. "A succubus lair." Merlin closed her and Arad's nose. "Don't breathe the air, Amber." She looked at her. "It's filled with the evaporated succubus sweat. This is a potent aphrodisiac." Merlin was a bit later. Amber was already sucking on Arad's nipples as if her life depends on it. "We're getting out," Arad said, as they left the 8th layer and entered the 9th clang. Countless blades flew at them out of the darkness, crashing on and bouncing off Arad's barrier. "I can't see a thing," Merlin grunted. Amber screamed. "Why, I'm doing this," she cried with a red face. "Hold on, I can see the light of the 10th layer," he said, looking down at Amber. "And I don't mind you doing it. No need for you to worry." Up. Third note. It's not about that. Amber covered her face with her single palm. The source of this content is Rear. Takaorb Chapter 577, Final Flash. Chapter 577, Final Flash. Thud. Arad landed on the 10th layer, seeing an empty wasteland spanning as far as the eyes could see. "This looks like a rock desert," Merlin said, looking at the brownish stone formation, mountains and bright sun in the sky. But strangely, it didn't feel hot. "I don't see any monsters around here," Arad said, looking around them with a worried stare. "There aren't any monsters in this layer." A woman's voice came from atop a mountain, and they looked up, seeing a black-haired Merlin with glowing white eyes staring down at them. "So you're the one behind all of this," Arad smiled. "I was a mere succubus imprisoned by her," she replied. "You can call me Anne, that what I was called before getting caught." "Caught?" Merlin giggled. "You can't complain after sucking over 1,000 men to death, succubus of Avalors. It's how we eat. The cows don't blame you for drinking their milk." She slowly lifted her hand with the labyrinth. "I'm manna to suck all of your power and make it mine. After I'm done with you two, I'm going for a well-deserved meal." She giggled. "Let's start by draining Alina first." "Merlin, don't waste time," Amber growled. "Get your power now." "I know," Merlin replied, slowly lifting her hand. Bam! Anne fired a massive fireball at them, and Merlin easily deflected it, absorbing the mana in the process. "Magic doesn't work. You're only empowering me," Merlin said. "And I'm already capable of stabilizing the twisted mana you tried to poison me with. I bet there is a limit to how much you can clean at once." Anne smiled, firing a second fireball at them. Arad blinked, sensing Doma's presence in the layer. Now that they are on the same layer, she's trying to pull herself back into his body with all of his power. "Where are you?" Arad shouted, looking around. "I'm here," he screamed. "Find her." Merlin lifted her hand to block the fireball. "It works for us if Doma is looking for Arad. I'll deflect this fireball and charge my mana, then search for curses." Crack! As Merlin blocked the fireball, something solid came out of it. It blasted right through her and Arad. Arad puked blood, looking down to see a head-sized hole in his chest, and Merlin missing a chunk of her right side. Whatever it was, it had blown right through his barrier as well. "Do you take me for a fool?" Anne looked at them with a bored face. "Why won't I mix something non-magical in there?" She pointed back at a sharp stone. "I've been accelerating it for a while just to make a magicless weapon to take you down with." Merlin's vision went dark. The stone took a chunk of her stomach, her right kidney, intestines, and liver. Her body instantly started to shut down. She isn't a paladin or a cleric. She doesn't have the healing to keep up with such wounds. Thud. Arad fell on his face, now that he's missing a chunk of his spine. His legs stopped moving. "Damn it," Amber screamed, lunging forward and creating a firewall. She immediately reached into her pocket. Forget about powers. Cultivate them once again. She pulled a small red crystal and threw it between Arad and Merlin. "I'm sure you can do it again." As she smiled, a massive burst of fire shattered her firewall. Ding! The crystal cracked. and both Merlin and Arad were transported outside the labyrinth, allegedly without their powers. The last thing Arad could remember was lying in the snow in Alina's street, looking at Merlin's bleeding in front of him as he quickly lost consciousness from the rapid blood loss. In looked at Amber. You could have sent them out all this time. Why didn't you do it before? Their powers are important, unlike me. The world needs them, Amber smiled. I wanted to give it a try if we could retrieve them. And you failed, Anne giggled. Now you're left here to die. I'm not debating that. I'm so dead now, but... She gasped. Laugh as much as you like, abomination. She took her hat off. You might have their powers now, they can't kill you. Her eyes turned orange. But that means nothing to me. Crack. Her skin cracked, setting her robe ablaze. If I'm dying anyway, I might as well do it. You're about to. Anne stared at her. I hail from the Burnhilds, a long line of clergy in service of the goddess of fire, ruling over the elemental plane of fire, Amber shouted, and her blonde hair turned bright red as it ignited. The ground around her started melting as a burst of flame engulfed her. Bam! A massive explosion shattered the place, and Anne barely dodged. Did she just blow herself off? She looked around, but her eyes opened wide. The massive explosion still persisted, flying across the sky at a supersonic speed akin to a massive fireball. Taste the power of our goddess, Zelleria, Amber shouted. In the elemental plane of fire, the goddess sighed. How faithless can you be to mistake my daughter for me? Well, her power should be more than enough, so take it, she smiled. The cataclysmic flare that blinded the sun and terrified the gods. Even though the 10th layer looked almost limitless from the inside, Amber flew so fast that she started orbiting at its edges, accelerating beyond belief into her flames encirculating the outer edges. I shall burn everything away and become the spark that once ended the world. Amber shifted her direction, flying directly toward Anne, who formed a massive barrier with all of the magic she could use from Merlin's power. Zelleria's final flash, coming like a raging meteor, Amber smacked herself into the wall, sending a horrid blast of pure heat, igniting the whole layer at once in a blaze of purgatory. The blast instantly filled the whole layer, shaking the whole labyrinth, seeping through the hole and burning everything down to the first layer. The sound alone was so loud that it escaped the labyrinth, shattering half of Alina's houses and getting heard from miles away as a crimson flare illuminated the top of the labyrinth like a light bulb and turning the night into a bright day. New novel chapters are published on Tell 578, retrieved and unleashed. Telling a black glass orb fell from the top of the labyrinth, hitting the roof of a home. Hurry. They are bleeding to death, a cleric shouted, pulling a large potion and pouring it on Merlin. The situation is bad. Hurry. 2 nuns rushed in as fast they could, drawing a cart behind them. Who should we take? Take Merlin. She's in a much worse condition. He turned and rushed toward Arad. Come on, you're a big man. Stay with us. He started healing him. Damn it, he has no pulse. The cleric growled. Spare the dead might save him. He lifted his hands, and they crackled with a blue spart. I heard you're a tough one. Come on, don't die from just your this ding ding. The cleric stopped, looking back as he heard something. His eyes laid upon the black orb, seeing it rolling toward them. He started sweating, feeling the horrid curses boiling inside the unholy object. What's this now? He cried, standing and rushing toward the orb with a kick. To the hells with you. Swash! He missed the ball by a hair strand. Was it bad luck, his fear, or hesitation? He didn't know. The orb rolled and touched Arad's arm, melting into his body. Badump, a loud beat came out of Arad's chest, sounding like a war drum banged by a great mace. With it, blood splashed from his wound. The cleric watched in horror as Arad's veins started moving like worms, closing his wounds as his spine grew back and his organs extended into their place. Badump! Badump! With Arad's heart beating 2 more times, the power of it alone shook the ground, reverberating across the city. The cleric started backing away, his eyes fixated on Arad's throbbing chest. Nothing there sounded like a human, but like those of giant monsters. Little did he know, That was a giant monster waking up. Black tattoos covered Arad's body for a moment, with two pairs of eyes appearing on his scalp, spazzing and glaring around with malice. The moment the cleric blinked, all those disappeared, and Arad looked like he was before, but without the wound on his torso. It healed? The cleric gasped, but immediately closed his mouth as he saw Arad's arms twitch, his eyes opening up. Click! 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 The cleric's head throbbed in pain, countless clicks crackling in his skull, dropping him to his knees. He couldn't understand any, but learned one thing. It's coming from Arad, and he's pissed. He fell on his butt, holding his head and squinting. Soon he reopened his eyes, but Arad wasn't there. Sir. He turned around, seeing Arad standing at the labyrinth's side, lifting his hand to touch it. Don't you get rejected, he cried. Tap. Arad touched the labyrinth, and a golden lightning burst jumped from its wall to his arm, trying to throw him back. Arad stood there, touching the wall without a care as he tanked the rejection. You'll die again, the cleric screamed. Arad lifted his second arm, grabbing the wall with both hands. Give them back, Arad growled, his voice far deeper than it was before, crackling like twisting steel. Crack. The ground around him cracked, and the cleric stared forward with a dumbfounded face, his teeth shaking. Impossible, right now, Arad screamed, his roar echoing across the whole city, loud enough that it burst the cleric's eardrums. Tens of purple magic circles appeared around Arad's body and circulated the whole labyrinth. Crackle. The labyrinth tilted a bit as the building around Arad, started to crack. The cleric shat himself, seeing the labyrinth move, pulled out of its roots. The people of the city cried, pointing at the labyrinth with fear. What's this loud roar? Monster must have escaped the labyrinth. We're doomed, a man cried. Arad swung his arms. Get out, he shouted, throwing the whole labyrinth into the sky, assisted with gravity magic and some curses from Doma. The people of the city gasped, seeing the whole labyrinth fly and crash between the mountains. What was that? Can it fly now? A woman cried. Aela, who was there, looked up. No, that's Arad, she mumbled. He's angry. Arad immediately teleported from the city to where the labyrinth landed. Shall you wish? A flower grew behind him. I would clamp the mountains on it. Losi said, looking at Arad and the labyrinth, she would have already done that if the labyrinth wasn't located in the middle of the city. Leave it. It's mine, Arad growled, transforming into his draconic form. Thud, thud. Arad approached the labyrinth, growling B.A. Anne gasped. Half of her body burned to a crisp as she barely managed to escape with her life. That sorceress, she growled. To think she would do that. Despite how it looked, what Amber did was extremely simple. With her bloodline, she managed to create a spark hot enough to dissolve and ignite water in the air. The spark generates heat to start the reaction. It dissolves water into hydrogen and oxygen. Those two elements burn and explode, releasing heat and merging back into the water, which gets dissolved once again with the generated heat, creating an endless cycle of explosions. Anne stood walking around the burned wastelands. Wait, I can't feel it, she gasped, only now noticing that Arad's power was nowhere inside the labyrinth. Doma, being the menace she is, managed to slip out through a crack created by Amber's blast. At least she looked where the blast started. Where is it? That sorceress's soul. It shouldn't have gone far. Souls that die in a labyrinth are absorbed by it for energy. It's how the place feeds. Where is it? Anne extended her magic around, searching for Amber's soul. It should be here somewhere. Her magic is powerful. It would be, she mumbled, but then the whole labyrinth shook. Right now, a loud voice boomed across the labyrinth. Read latest chapters at Yurdit, Idza Road, only chapter 579, How to Crack It Open. Chapter 579, How to Crack It Open. What? Anne gasped, looking up, and the ground suddenly flipped upside down as Arad threw the labyrinth into the sky. Fly, she started flying around and looked at the sky. That dragon! How did he move this? She growled. It must be his gravity magic, using it to make the labyrinth lighter. Quack! The labyrinth fell to the ground, and the ground around Anne cracked with the mountains tumbling down. "Ah, crack! Hey, crack!" She could hear Arad's roars coming from outside, sounding like a stretched screech of a large demon sheep. Clap! Anne put her hands together. It's only a matter of time before he breaks in. Before her, armies of soldiers emerged. "Get ready to fight the dragon." They stared at her. "Can we win?" One of the humanoid monsters asked with a puzzled face. "Don't know," Anne replied. "We're like a chicken stuck in a barrel, and he's one hungry large bear. It's only a matter of time before he breaches in." Crackle. The whole labyrinth shook as Arad kept swinging his claws at it from the outside, slowly using his void to shave the magic barrier protecting it. One swing after another, he quickly started getting impatient. It felt like trying to crack a large plywood wall. What would a man do, run back and ram it with his shoulder? Arad extended his wings, flying into the sky. He quickly reached the clouds, flying over them until he could see the whole world. What's the dragon's version of ramming? Flipping mid-air, he took a nosedive, going straight down. Flames crackled around his body. Bam! Arad covered his body with a thin barrier magic, aiming at the labyrinth's base. Boom, crashing head first, the ground around them exploded, sending a massive dust cloud into the sky. Upon taking the impact, the labyrinth flew up and it spun and hit Arad's head with its tip. Arad backed away, his head spinning as he shook it. The impact of the fall, and now the labyrinth hitting him. That hurt a lot. It's probably best to not hit it like that, as it might bounce back once again. It's silent. Anne looked around as she couldn't hear Arad banging on the walls anymore. Boom! The whole labyrinth jerked. Anne saw the ground spins around her body with the stones falling upward and the army scattering like dust into the sky. The hell is that thing doing? She looked up. Arad shook his head as he approached the maze, sniffing it for cracks. It didn't take him long to find a small one close to the base. He started scratching it like a cat, sharpening its nails, but found it annoying that he kept getting jolted with magic each time he touched the labyrinth. This labyrinth is built with Merlin's magic. It might be a complicated structure, but it feels similar. Arad sat beside the labyrinth and lifted his front arms. Countless magic circles appeared between his claws, spinning as he tried to understand how that thing worked. This seems like conjuration magic for the outside, barrier magic for protection, and spatial magic to create the internal demi-plan, explaining why the insides are far larger than the outside. The rejection magic is a form of force magic, lightning, I can't know. He scratched his head, walking around the labyrinth. If a nose dive from far above the clouds didn't shatter it, I might need something stronger. Arad grabbed the labyrinth by the base and made it stand on its top. With one pull of his claws, he anchored it to the ground. Roar. Roar, he roared with a white flash emerging inside his stomach, traveling through his torso, chest, neck, and to his head. Arad opened his mount, unleashing a blinding white blast of energy at the labyrinth's base. The beam splashed at the tip, scattering like light through a prism and exploded everywhere across the mountains. Arad, that hurts. Losi growled, staring at him. I took the impact of your fall, but this just burns. Clack. Arad closed his jaws on the beam, shaking his head as smoke escaped from between his teeth and a sizzling sound filled the air. Grrr! Arad turned and looked to the ground. Sorry, did it hurt? Your fall felt like a punch to the guts, and now this isn't better than getting burned. Try to be a bit more careful? Arad looked at the labyrinth. I need something powerful, but precise. He closed his eyes, thinking about what he could do. The first thing to come to his mind was what he learned about expansions. If he has the mana, he can change their element as they are a simple extension of the caster's magic. Doma, is there a way to break this labyrinth open? He asked. Huh, Doma giggled. No matter the time, the solution was always simple. She opened her eyes, staring at him from the darkness. If violence doesn't work, use additional violence. The question is, what can you do? And the answer always is violence. What's that supposed to mean? Arad sighed. Violence is everything. If you want to build a house, you cut trees with violence. You want to eat, it's violence. You want to live and survive, it's always violence. Doma stood, extending her hand. It's the curse of survival. A species' life depends on the death of others. What you need now is violence, a lot of it concentrated in a small area. Arad smiled. I see what you mean. He lifted his left claw up, conjuring a spear-shaped barrier around it. He then engulfed it with his void to make sure it could dissolve the rejection magic protecting the labyrinth. Make it spin. You have all your weight concentrated in a small point, and now you only need movement there, Mom added. And don't forget to aim at the crack. Arad took a deep breath. And I'm increasing my weight with gravity magic. I only need a hole enough for a rat to crawl through. This chapter is updated by Beard Chapter, Chapter 580, Unstoppable Dragon, Chapter 580, Unstoppable Dragon. Lig racked the walls of the labyrinth resisted, their magic jolting back, crackling like lightning as it pushed Arad back. Arad smiled. Crack open, I only need one tiny crack. The void coursing from his body to the barrier drill pulled matter out of the labyrinth's walls with the mana alongside them, quickly draining the walls of energy to resist. Even though Anne had all of Merlin's magic and mana, she didn't seem to be able to unleash it at a powerful enough stream to sustain the labyrinth while fending Arad's magic. It barely got there. A small opening appeared from the cracks. A black rat poked his head into the labyrinth. The moment its front foot landed inside, the whole place pulsed. He got inside. Stop him at all costs. Anne shouted at the top of her lungs at the first layer. The deformed Merlin's monsters stood staring at the tiny black rat that entered in horror. It looked so small, so tiny and harmless, yet they knew it. That thing was anything but harmless. The rat's body started expanding and shifting. It grew wings and a massive tail. Sharp scales emerged from its skin as it burned with a dark purplish magic. D. One of the monsters jumped. Arad opened his jaw, biting the monster whole. As the rest stared, he gave her a chop and swallowed her. The void consumes, Arad growled, opening his jaw. The voice inside his stomach started violently pulling air in like a vacuum, sucking everything around him. The monsters held onto the stones, trees, and ground for dear life, but it didn't matter what it was. Anything that got close to Arad's jaw got eaten. Bam! The Stair Guardian, the giant Arad golem, rushed toward Arad with a swing. Arad turned around, smacking him with his tail, shattering him with ease. He then extended his wings and flew up, digging his way to the second layer where he swam through the mud. You're back. The Octopus Queen rushed at him. Sorry, but it's our job to stop you. We were resurrected just for that. Arad opened his jaw and turned toward her. Everything around her went black as a shockwave crushed her boneless body into a mush. Arad's void breath erased her alongside the other octopuses around in a single hit. Flap! Flap! Arad didn't even bother to slow down, smacking directly into the ceiling and digging his way to the third layer. Thud at that moment. He felt a hand grab him by the tail. As he looked back, he saw a large, muscular man looking like him. But this one had fish skin and a long black beard. What are you? Arad asked, snatching his tail from the man's hand. The man pointed his trident at Arad, throwing it with a blast of lightning. Yeah, I remember, Arad smiled, biting the trident off. That devil killed the Stair's guardian before we reached him. That was you, wasn't it? Sparks emerged from between Arad's teeth. This is how you use lightning. Clap. A massive bolt of lightning charred the boss in an instant, and Arad kept moving. Now that he regained his powers, most monsters here felt so weak he could barely tell them apart. The fake Alina city started shaking, the ground beneath it cracking as Arad approached. The fake Merlin and the city lord rushed out. Set a barricade. We'll stop him here. The lord growled. You must be dreaming, the fake Merlin replied. We could barely stop him as a mere human. We have no chance now that he got his power back. A dragon or a human, they are the same, the city lord growled. You won't know until you try. Crack. Arad emerged from the ground, and the Lord pointed at him with his sword, fire. All the soldiers shoot their arrows, cannons, and balisata in an attempt to stop Arad in his tracks. Everything just bounced off Arad's scales like droplets of water on a tile roof. A dragon's scales can't be pierced with mundane, magicless weapons. Bam! In the blink of an eye, Arad disappeared, and a line got cut in the middle of the city. The soldiers got blasted as debris rained from the sky like hair. What happened? The city lord growled, looking around with a shocked face. He ran, the fake Merlin replied. He ran through the city, nothing more. She looked back at Arad. Even at that size, he's faster than what the eye can follow. Such a thing can't be. Look, she pointed. Such mass moving at that speed, we won't even Arad landed on the other side of the city, and no one remained alive there. Even the fake Merlin failed to notice something before dying. Arad wasn't just running across the city. That would be pointless. He was just running around, eating everyone in his way. They died thinking they got rammed, but in fact, they were chewed. Arad immediately flew up to the desert lair, emerging from the sand like a hungry scorpion looking for food. He stared around. Amber lost her arm to kill that massive worm. He could see the boss. Why are you still alive? Arad growled. Countless small worms bit Arad's limbs and wings to pin him down as the boss rushed forward, opening its massive jaw to bite. Thud. Arad took one step forward, the worms holding him down and ripping apart as they couldn't tie him. Arad's scales turned red, fire crackling. You should be burned to death. Are you telling me losing her arm wasn't enough to put you down forever? Arad opened his jaw, biting the boss's jaw and swinging him around like a rope, only using his neck muscles. His scales crackled with fire as he unleashed a powerful breath. The boss's body flashed red from the inside, inflating like a balloon before exploding in a burst of fire and blood. Monster that terrorizes humans. Arad thoughts, remembering how he ran with Merlin and Amber on his back. To them, to us at that time, you were a monster, an apex predator of the desert. Arad looked at the blood. But now I'm the monster to you, worm. Arad extended his wings, taking into the sky. I shall never forget. The weakness and fragility of humans, and the terror we monsters hold. He looked up, flying toward the next layer. So one day, I won't end up like you. Arad started digging his way to the next floor. I shall keep my own power in check. The most up-to-date novels are published on Chapter 581, Pride, Respect, and Love. Chapter 581, Pride, Respect, and Love. Bam. Arad burst into the fifth layer. His maw opened wide as he unleashed a blast of crimson flames, burning a large chunk of the snowy jungle and setting the rest ablaze. The demon baboons, apes, the yetis, and Bigfoot ran away as fast as they could, but the fire quickly caught up to them, burning the whole place. Going into the next layer, Arad quickly realized what happened. The hole Merlin drilled had already closed. This means this place can regenerate and reset with time, or that Anne reset it to stop him. Whatever it be, she doesn't seem to be able to do it all the time. Arad smiles. She's struggling to survive. Good splat. Arad broke through into the endless oceans of the sixth layer, immediately getting entangled by tentacles. Merlin called you an aboleth, didn't she? He looked back, seeing the squid whale opening its beak, trying to bite into his scales. Dragons are excellent swimmers, but unless you're a scion dragon, you won't beat me here. Time to drown and bleed to death. Arad could hear a voice resonating inside his head. This creature speaks telepathically. Who? You can speak like this. It's rare. Void dragons are usually psionic creatures that talk with telepathy, as sound doesn't travel in the void. Clang. The aboleth's beak bounced off Arad's scales without even scratching them. This is seawater, right? Arad's tail extended with the spikes running down his back, erecting time to make some fish soup. Crackle. A brook. Lightning sparked between his spines, shocking the sea in the blink of an eye. The fishes and small monsters of the sea jolted, falling dead one after another, yet the aboleth didn't let go. I too can do it. The aboleth's body sparked as well, sending a powerful jolt directly into Arad's body. I got hit with worse, Arad smiled, opening his jaw and opening a direct path to his stomach, sucking the seawater like a whirlpool. The aboleth growled, grasping onto Arad's side so he won't get sucked in. How much can you drink, fool? But the boss quickly ate his own words as the water level sharply dropped, and Arad didn't show any signs of stopping. Everything, whether it was fish, rock, or corals, all getting sucked into his stomach. Splat! Arad drank the sea dry, and the obelisk dangled from his side, his head hitting the ground. You monster! Arad looked at the obelisk with a grin. I was once a guest at a gold dragon lair, and she offered me a whole whale. That was great, and so was the fish here. He opened his jaw. How do you taste, Aboleth? Damn! You! Arad ate the monster whole and then flew to the next layer. As Arad burst through into the hot lava, he felt a familiar presence there. Thud. He stopped, looking around with a smile on his face. A husk you have become, Red. The first red dragon Arad killed, that young one stared at him with closed eyes, his scales peeling off. How had death treated you? The young red dragon stood in place, necrotic and draconic magic flowing from his bones. A zombie red dragon? Still not at the level of a Dracolich crack. The red dragon's jaw opened. Slay, old one. Necrotic magic started rampaging from his bones, but he didn't move. His body started shaking, sparks of fire gushing out of his eyes as his claws dug into the ground. Bam! Arad flashed across, cutting the young dragon in half, burning all of his magic with the void. Rest with pride. I never seen one speak after death. You're strong. The red dragon's body crumbled. Then he couldn't finish the last word before falling apart. Arad nodded. I know, he glared up. Vengeance. I can hear your thoughts. Arad flew up, bursting into the next layer without wasting any time. He's here, one of the succubus shouted, and all of them pointed at Arad. Great magic, arcane spellbound. They screamed, their seduction magic combining to mind-wash the dragon. Arad growled as clouds of sweet pink gas rushed toward him, engulfing his whole body. His mind slowly cleared out, the memories fading into the sensation. As the smoke cleared, the succubus celebrated, seeing Arad standing there in his humanoid form. We got him. One couldn't help but jump. We tamed the dragon. Send new to Anne. She flew up to inform the labyrinth's ruler as the rest approached Arad. While she comes back, they giggled, surrounding Arad. One approached him, wiggling like a worm. Want to have some fun? She gently stroked his chest. Yes, Arad replied, lifting his hand. She giggled, then let slap in the blink of an eye. Arad slapped her head across the layer as her body fell down, twitching in her own blood. All the succubus gasped, unable to believe their eyes. Arad blinked, looking down at the corpse and then at his hand. What? I thought you were stronger. What a disappointment. He turned toward the rest with a gentle smile on his face. Well, doesn't matter. Look at how many strong ones are here. He opened his arms. Come, show me what you have, strong ones. They took a step back. Dragons value strength more than beauty. As each animal has their own mating rituals, dragons have one of the most violent ones. To make sure their race survives, as the strongest, they inherently seek mates stronger than themselves. The dragon's marriage is an interesting one. The dragons are usually bigger and stronger than the dracanas, and therefore more attractive in their culture. It's usually dracanas who propose to the dragons. The proposal is always a challenge. The dracana walks into the dragon's territory. The dragon usually awaits to see what she does before treating her like an intruder. She can then do one of two things: approach his lair for a fight, or settle down, asking him to come for the fight. The fight can end in several ways. The dragon wins and rejects her because she didn't put up a decent fight. Therefore, his offspring with her could be weak. The second one is him acknowledging her strength, but not enough to take her as a mate, or because he has someone stronger in mind. This usually ends with the dracana asking for a favor, and that is most of the time to be impregnated, which the dragon almost always accepts, and she leaves after the deed. That usually gives her offspring a chance of inheriting the dragon's strength, therefore having a better chance for themselves. Another ending is the dragon accepting her as a mate. After that, she would move to live in his domain to care for the children together. Albeit the two dragons always keep separate hordes. After the mating, the two couples can be spotted fighting regularly as they try to decide on the dominant one, usually once a year. Another possibility is the dragon losing, which the Dracaena would leave disappointed. In some bad cases, if the dragon proved too weak, the Dracaena could end up eating him. Arad walked toward the succubi, his arms opened up for them. "Come at me." Ksh, mac, mac, their magic worked. Arad is enthralled by them and can only see hundreds of strong-looking Dracaenas posted around him asking for it. "I do have low standards," Arad called with a sweet smile. "Only one scratch and you'll get it. I know my void can be hard to deal with." "You?" A succubus cried. "You have wives, don't you? Did you fight them to death as well?" Arad nodded with a smile. "I did go for some of them, so they didn't need to fight me, but some did. Eris fought me and proved herself." "You bastard!" A succubus lunged at him, her fingers extending into claws as she swung at Arad's neck. Clang, crack. Her claws cracked the moment they hit his scales. "That's more like it." He grabbed her with a hug, put more magic into it. Spalt, squeezing his arms, the succubus's torso exploded, splashing blood everywhere. Arad looked at his arms dripping with blood and guts, a disappointed look on his face. Another weak one. He looked at them. "Are you faking your strength with magic?" Arad looked at them. Fuck, he's realizing it. One of the succubus growled. If he were to wake up, he'd go straight to Anne. "We need to keep him busy at all costs." She approached Arad with a smile. "Care for a word before we fight?" "What is it?" Arad replied with a smile. "Let's play a game. It will help us show our strength at their best." She lifted one finger, conjuring an orb of fire. "I see," Arad smiled. "You aren't physically gifted, but you might have magic or something else." He nodded. "Everything goes. Show me. What can you do?" She gulped. "Stand still and let me show you." She pointed her finger at his chest, charging a tiny ball of fire. "Focus. You only need to scratch him. If I manage that, I could stall him in bed." This chapter is updated by Briet Rack, chapter 582, Bloodbath. Harem A. The succubus screamed her lungs out, fire blazing from her claws as she swung at Arad's chest. The fireball in her palm exploded with a magnificent glow rising to the sky in a pillar of fire. She backed away, panting. "Did I get him?" The smoke cleared, and Arad stood there unscathed. "Too weak," he said. "You make me sad," lifting his hands. He looked at her crying. What a disappointment. "Get out of my land." "Heh!" She gasped, but Arad instantly blitzed her with a punch to the face, sending her head flying across the layer. The other stared in shock. Even such a hit couldn't scratch Arad's scales. "I said to come at me with all you got." He stared around, taking a stance. Too much fake ones, too much deception and weakness hidden behind masks of beauty. His eyes burned with a purple flame. "You don't deserve a fair chance. Eris proved herself in a straight fight, and so you should." The succubi turned to run, screaming as he lunged at them, ripping and tearing through them like they were nothing. "Fakes, fakes," he said. "How shameless. Don't assume strength that you don't have. Someone, stop the seduction spell." A succubus screamed as Arad ripped her body in half. "We can't. We sacrificed control for potency. This spell won't end," another cried. Doma laughed her guts out inside Arad, tearing up as she stared out at the succubus dying one after the other. Fools, what fools? What kind of idiots seduces a dragon before getting its respect? That's a recipe for disaster. The tales of bards seducing dragons are a bit misleading. Those always happen after an arduous battle, where the bard and his party manage to at least give the dragon some trouble. "You lots, back away and leave him to me." A succubus shouted, expanding her massive golden wings. The other looked at her. "The queen," she took a step toward Arad. "I'm the queen of this colony. I won't allow you to kill more of my children." "You hurt my feelings." "What?" She gasped, and he disappeared from her vision. Crack! He appeared in front and smacked her neck with a clothesline, sending her body sipping backward at a blinding speed. She coughed blood as her throat regenerated. She stabilized herself by expanding her wings and stared forward. You rude bastard. Attacking out of nowhere, Arad was nowhere to be seen. Thud, then she could feel two arms wrapping around her waist, closing tight. Wait. Her body lifted up, and Arad suplexes her to the ground, drilling her head in the dirt. He then took a step back, lifting his right leg backward, ready to kick.
"Get out of my land,"
he mumbled, kicking her in the guts with enough force to send her flying into the distance. With a succubus average weight, she felt nothing more than a small ball. Arad then returned to fighting the succubus, and 1 minute passed by. He stood alone in the barren land, his right arm moving on its own to slap him in the face.
"Wake up!"
Arad blinked twice. "What happened?" He looked around, seeing the massacre. They used a seduction spell on you. It seems they didn't know they would have to fight you. She giggled. You could have woken me earlier. Why would I do that? It was fun seeing them terrified and running for their lives. Considering what they intended to do to you, I take that as a suitable punishment. Arad scratched his head. Mom, what do you say? They got what they deserved. Now hurry up. Of course. Arad shifted back into his draconic form and flew up, breaking into the last layer. Pew! The moment he emerged, a steel spear flew toward his eye. Zon. Arad appeared on the ceiling, staring down at Anne with a fire burning in his eyes. Teleportation. You're going to be a pain to hunt, won't you? Anne smiled, waving her staff and summoning 3 humanoid golems, a sword and shield warrior, an archer ranger with a massive tiger companion, and lastly, a long sword-wielding swordsman. I want to see what your skin looks like on my mantle. She smiled. Roar, roar, Arad growled, jumping from the ceiling and landing in the middle of the layer, glaring at them with fire gushing from his closed jaw and nostrils. Dragonbane Anne pointed her staff at him, summoning a cloud of gas toxic to dragons. This spell weakens their scales, slowly their movements, and dilutes their mind, a debuff commonly used against dragons, and is considered essential to hunt one. Arad growled, flapping his wings to blow the gas away. From the cloud, the swordsman ran behind Arad and jumped on his tail, strapping himself there with a climbing kit. Arad turned, trying to bite the swordsman off, but the warrior rushed in with his shield, bashing him in the legs. Don't even try! Pew! An arrow flew out of nowhere, piercing. Arad's eyes then exploded with a burst of lightning. His head felt numb as his neck grew weaker. Thud! Thud! The tiger ran toward Arad, leaping for a neck bite. Give up! Give up! Anne laughed. Those are professional dragon hunters created by your beloved Merlin. They look mundane, but their speed, strength, and durability are comparable to S ranks. She pointed her staff at him. All of their attacks are toxic to dragons. Merlin had made them to help Alcott, after all. They were supposed to do his work of hunting dragons when he needed rest. Arad started flapping his wings to fly. The ranger ran around Arad and fired an arrow with a rope attached to it toward Arad's wing, piercing it and going toward the other wing to get stuck. The ranger then gave his end of the rope to the warrior to run around and tie Arad's wings together, preventing him from flight. Those ropes are made from brown dragon's tanned leather. They are enchanted as well for durability, so you won't snap them no matter how hard you try. She giggled. Arad felt his draconic power quickly fading again. Ah, forget something. She smiled. They seal dragon's power as well, like those. She pulled a pair of dragon cuffs from her magic pocket. Arad looked down, opening his mouth as wide as he could. Blug. He started puking a flood of blood, scaring everyone there. What's he doing? The warrior jumped back. My tackle couldn't have caused this much damage, neither my poison, the ranger shouted. Tigris as well. We would have seen blood if he cut the jugulars, but those are protected in all dragons. I'm trying to cut his tail. I didn't do anything. The swordsman replied as he hacked down. Don't look at me, Anne shouted. I don't have any spell to cause that much damage. The flood of blood coming out of Arad's mouth increased to a horrifying degree. Vampire expansion, Blood Lake of the Spawns, updated from a Red Journal. Chapter 583, Unleashed Monster.
The dragon hunters jumped away from Arad. "What's this thing doing? No dragon can puke so much blood," the ranger screamed.
"This isn't a normal dragon," the warrior replied. "We hack at his scales until it dies. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't be hasty. Let's watch first and see what this dragon can do." The swordsman took a stance. "Are you saying we let it transform or whatever?" The ranger growled. Anne shouted at them. "The swordsman is right. Don't jump in blindly and get killed. The last thing we are losing one of you to recklessness. Fighting a dragon is recklessness in its purest forms." The ranger shouted back, "Unless we take risks, we won't take it down. My magic is weakening him. Give it time, and you'll carve his scales while he's alive." Anne smiled, looking at Arad, who sat in his place, puking a flood of crimson blood. Blood expansion. Everyone froze as they sensed Arad's draconic magic getting replaced by something else. A sinister stench of blood filled the air. The magic of a vampire lord? Blood lake of the spawns. Splat. Arad's blood exploded into an endless flood, more of it getting conjured by his draconic bones as his body sucked the labyrinth's mana to fool himself. Like a disease, every part of the labyrinth that his blood touched got infected, its mana melting into said blood and flowing back to Arad, so he could create more blood. The fucker had a second phase. The ranger screamed. "I knew we should have interrupted his transformation." The entire labyrinth turned black, with each layer boiling with Arad's blood, eating all the monsters conjured there and forcing them into servitude. An army of blood servants quickly marched up, thirsty for blood. Clack. A second pair of bat wings burst from Arad's back as another pair of red eyes emerged on his forehead. A deep roar escaped his throat as he glared at the dragon hunters, cut them apart. From the blood, the spawns started emerging everywhere, rushing at the hunters with the weapons Arad kept in his stomach. "Damn him!" the swordsman growled, jumping left and right, cutting several spawns with each swing. "That thing was a vampire all along. Our weapons were optimized for dragons, not blood-sucking fiends." Anne lifted her staff. "I call forth a storm of thunder and lightning," she shouted. Lightning storm black clouds emerged in the sky, crackling as the violent wind swept the spawns away. "Keep them at bay. I have anti-vampire magic as well." "You have?" The ranger looked at her with a smile. "Good, get it ready. You don't need to tell me," Anne shouted back. "All of you protect me while I chant it." Bam! Arad flew toward them, swinging his blood-drenched claws. Clang! The warrior blocked the attack with his shield, swinging his sword down and cutting one of Arad's claws. "Yurik?
Read? No! Me! He doesn't have his draconic toughness. We should be able to damage him with normal attacks. Hail down at him," he cried. Clack! Arad's claw instantly regenerated as he swung again. Clang! The swordsman deflected the attack and swung at Arad's left front arm, severing it.
"You're soft but regenerate like hell," he smiled. "Then all we do is keep slicing and dicing until her magic is ready." The tiger bit Arad by the tail and started pulling him back, while the swordsman and warrior attacked from the front. The ranger pulled some bombs from his pocket and started flinging them at Arad's head, trying to distract him. "Anne, hurry," the swordsman shouted. "This thing can regenerate an arm in the blink of an eye. You don't have to scream." She pointed her staff at Arad. "I call a restraining order, bound by blood, unleashed by the night, spawns of the hells begone to endless wastes of Hades, an endless agony." Blood. Bane roar. Arad roared, the flowing magic from Anne disturbing his vampiric curse, weakening it by hijacking the magic itself. Arad growled and grunted, taking a step back. "It's working. Keep it up." The ranger smiled. "This thing is no joke," Anne replied. "I'm using about 10% of Merlin's magic to sustain the labyrinth in its destroyed state, 30% to stop his draconic powers, and now another 30% to suppress his vampiric powers. The last 30% is spread between you three," she growled. "I can't move, so go finish him quickly." "Got it." The warrior smiled. Merlin was always a powerful mistress to have. Hold on, the swordsman cracked his shoulders. Would severing his head suffice? It won't cut him to pieces and burn it, Anne grunted. We have no fire. Just cut him, and I'll release his draconic powers and then burn him before he can fight back, if he can do so as minced meat, she added. We got it. They jumped at Arad, swinging their blades at him one after the other. Trying to finish him off, Arad growled as they cut into his flesh, almost reaching his bones. The growls switched into a cry and slowly into a howl. Oh! They gasped, sensing another magic gushing out of his body, and jumped away. Oh! Arad's howl grew louder and louder, turning into a deafening screech. The fucking bastard, the swordsman screamed. Black covered Arad's body as a second tail emerged from his lower back. A second pair of arms emerged from his sides with two golden eyes emerging on his cheek. Wolf wares appeared beneath his horns as his claws turned into a shade of gray, growing longer as his stance changed. He's getting bigger? The warrior gasped as he saw Arad almost grow to 1.5 of his original size. Those are more muscles? Arad growled, smoke gushing out of his massive maw. Bam! He disappeared, and the warrior lifted his shield, barely blocking the claw attack at the last moment. Clang. The warrior got sent flying into the distance. Arad was already a muscular dragon, boasting a stunning physical might, but the werewolf blood had put all of that into overdrive, forcing his body to grow more muscles, larger bones, and an even violent fighting style. What is the difference between a human and a werewolf? That's the same difference between Arad's normal physical might and him now as a werewolf, a whole other league of raw violence. Bam, bam, he's fast. The ranger screamed, "Get him!" The tiger lunged forward, trying to catch Arad with a bite. A cat trying to catch a wolf would never end well. Crack! Arad bit the tiger on the face, lifting it into the sky and swinging it back at the dragon hunter. The swordsman carried Anne and lunged away, and the ranger barely dodged himself. Crack! Arad smacked the tiger on the ground, chewing and swallowing its head. He then howled into the sky, his voice shaking the labyrinth. The hunter were constructs, so the howl didn't bother them, but Anne shat herself. A werewolf's howl is supposed to be heard, and tell everyone who hears it that they are about to be fed upon by the beast. This content is taken from Ho Chapter, Fief 8-4, Fall of the Labyrinth. The dragon hunters rushed away from Arad, trying to regroup back with the warrior. He's their party's tank, and without him, Arad could one-shot any of them. Take her away. The swordsman shouted as he turned to face Arad, I will hold him here. He lifted his sword up, swinging it down at Arad's head the moment he got in range. Clack. The blade bounced off Arad's head, barely scratching his hide. Oh, woo. Arad swung his claws at the swordsman without wasting any time. The swordsman gasped, taking a step back and swinging his sword to block. Sparks flew everywhere. This monster, he's fast. The moment Arad noticed his strikes getting deflected, he lunged back and took a deep breath, focusing on how to direct his power. Leave me and go fight him, Anne shouted, smacking her fist on the ranger's back. Ibs Erdko, Natchner, Natchering, shut up, shitty Anne. He's smart. He would ignore us and attack you. The ranger replied, looking back to see the swordsman struggling to keep up. Arad's speed and aggression kept rising without a limit. Bam! Arad launched forward, ramming the swordsman and rushing toward the ranger and Anne with a bite. Bam! Clang! The warrior managed to get back in time, barely blocking Arad's strike with his shield. We're together. Let her stay in the back lines. You're finally here. The ranger smiled, throwing Anne away and pulling two daggers. Swash! The swordsman rushed from the back, lunging at Arad's tail, spinning all the way from the tip of the tail to Arad's head, slashing like a madman. Countless strikes rained down on Arad. The ranger swung his daggers at Arad's face, aiming at his eyes. The swordsman went after the wings, and the warrior tried to smash Arad's knees to drop him down. Don't give him a chance to fight back. Anne shouted from the back. "Run away, bitch," the ranger shouted at her. "Don't stand there like an idiot." The warrior growled, waving his sword at her. "Get the hell out. One wrong move and he'll jump at you." "A woo!" Arad screamed, his howl so loud it stunned the hunters who stood so close. He then lifted his claws up and smacked them down, blasting the ground. The hunters flew away from the shockwave and debris barely dodging the massive hit. "How aggressive can you be?" the ranger growled. "You draconic blood wolf Bam." The warrior rushed in, bashing Arad with his shield. "Take her as far as you could." The ranger growled as he picked Anne and ran away. "We can't fight with you close by," he grunted at her. "You're a weak point. Protecting you is making us more vulnerable than a mug of free beer on a tavern counter. Shut up. I'm the one holding his draconic and vampiric power in check, at least. Deal with one." She glared at him. "I'm saying we can't do it with you around. He would kill you and release your magic." The ranger growled. "Can't you find a way to teleport away, sacrificing an arm or something? You mages always pull shit like that out of your ass." "I'm not Merlin," she growled at him. "I might have her power, but that doesn't mean I can do anything she could." "You're such a pain," the ranger growled. "How much can dodge?" She screamed her lungs out in his ear, and he jumped to the side, only losing an arm as something flew by. The fuck was that? The ranger looked forward, seeing 3 massive gray claws stuck on the ground. He slowly turned back, seeing Arad's claws instantly growing back. "The fucker can throw them? A woo!" Arad howled, leaping from one hunter to another, slashing at them. When they tried to get away, he threw his claws at them mid-strike. Clang! The warrior lost his arm and shield, and Arad didn't waste a second and swallowed the shield. "Fuck it all," Anne growled, clapping her hands. "This won't work. Zon, the whole labyrinth disappeared. You bitch!" The ranger screamed as he disappeared alongside the hunters. "Be gone!" She glared at Arad, sealing his wormwolf powers as well. Arad screamed, his body shifting back into his humanoid form. Thud. He fell to the ground and Anne stared at him, panting. "Brah," she growled. "And fuck you, Paralyze. Stay down. No human power, no dragon, and other bullshit." She started scratching her head. "This bastard is a problem," she growled. "How much I have left? 9? 8% of Merlin's power? I'm as vulnerable as a rabbit." She looked around. Someone might come to help now that the labyrinth disappeared. The one who worried her more was the barbarian Nina. That barbarian might be coming, she looked around, or this bastard's wives he's been yapping about with the succubus. Teleport, she cast a spell, teleporting, and appeared only a meter away from where she was. "What?" she gasped. "Miscast? Damn it!" "Teleport," she returned. Where she started, the magic wasn't working right. Dancing in the night, Arad started singing, and Anne turned toward him. Terrified, he should be paralyzed, unable to even speak. A dragon upon the twilight sky, he pushed his torso up with his hands. "You stay down," she cried. "One dream that only came." Arad stood, staring at her with glowing pink eyes. His hands slowly approached each other. "You're using Merlin's power, so what if I gave him mine?" he said with a smile. Doma immediately gave Arad access to her power while she handled any background spells or inscriptions that he might need. "Stop it!" Anne pointed her hands at him, charging a massive fireball. Curse expansion. Medusa's pitfall, a massive hole appeared beneath them as they both fell down. Anne looked, seeing the floor filled with thousands of writhing venomous snakes, vipers, and cobras. Let alone their poison, their eyes dripped with the petrification curse. Crack! Arad grabbed Anne by the neck. "Did you hear me before?" he growled. "Give Merlin and Amber back." Crack! With one punch to the face, he sent her racing toward the snakes. This chapter is updated by Fried's Chapter 585 Eraser. Chapter 585 Eraser, a giant, tens of meters tall black viper extended his head out of the pit, wrapping around Anne's leg and swung her at the walls. The walls shattered and gasped. She barely managed to protect herself with a thin barrier. "You bastard!" She growled, Icewind Tail. Frigid winds rushed out of Anne's hands, swiping across the pit at the snakes. Made with magic, they might be, but their blood is still cold. Hit by the cold, the snakes got slower and more docile. Their bodies can't handle it. Tap Arad, a snake that dangled from the walls by its tail and swung across the pit, jumping toward Anne with closed hands. I'm not used to this. He swung his hand mid-air, and a massive viper flew from behind him at her. Thunder step with a lightning spark. Anne flew away at a blinding speed and landed on the other side of the pit. Crack! Arad's viper smacked into the wall, digging a hole in it. Thunderstep, Anne flashed through the walls, trying to flee. She could see the night sky and the stars. The moment she gets out, she's never coming back. Tap! As she reached the top, 2 tiny feet landed on her face. Get back down there! Zephyr blasted her down with a gust of wind. A fairy? She shouted. Fire blast! Firing a massive fireball at her. Pew! Pew! Arrow came in at a blinding speed, piercing Anne's arms and legs, but the ones aimed at her chest got deflected with a barrier. Zephyr giggled, opening her hand with a tiny spark of fire in it. Look what I found, sealed with curses. She stared down the pit, watching Anne fall. This land belongs to me. I lent it to those who live in. She waved her hand. I too still hold some power, and I invest a portion of it in her. Her wind started stoking the flames, causing them to spark and grow larger and larger. Swash, bam! Arad jumped into the air, grabbing Anne by the back of her head. You aren't going anywhere, you idiot dragon, Anne growled. That's Tiny Fairy, said she rules those lands. Go at her. She does. What's the problem with that? Arad swung Anne by the hair and threw her at the walls. Should I just release his powers and then use Merlin's full power to run away? No. Can I cast magic faster than he can strike? It's a risky gamble, she growled. Damn it all. Arad took a deep breath. A weapon, he screamed. Clank, a hook flew out of the hole, latching into the wall with a long rope. Jack swung down toward Arad with a Swyhander in his hand. Arad, catch! He threw him the great sword. White hair? Another high human? Anne growled, extending her hand toward Jack. Chain lightning clank. Jack released the latch of his hook, pulling the rope back to his arm, and then fired a burst from his artificial leg, blasting himself toward Anne and avoiding the chain lightning. Meh! He fired the hook once again, latching onto the wall behind Anne and pulling himself toward her at a high speed. Stay still! Anne screamed. Force blast! Force blast! Clank! Clank! Jack evaded all the blasts as he closed the distance, pulling the wakizashi from his waist and swinging it at Anne. The moment she saw it, her mixed blood trembled. Devil, demon, succubus, all those parts felt it, the crackling divine magic held within the ancient blade. A divine artifact, no, a holy sword, she screamed, endless binding. Hundreds of ropes and vines rushed from behind her toward Jack. Swash. From the pit's mouth, Lydia jumped down, swinging her sword. Divine Cleaver, with one strike, the binding spell burned into golden mist as Jack flew through it, swinging the wakizashi at Anne. Got you, he smiled. Divine Severance Clap. A golden spark raged from the wakizashi, flashing with a brilliant light. Tch, Anne growled, pulling all of Merlin's power back to herself and releasing Arad's powers. Using that, she barely managed to deflect the strike, leaving with only one severed arm. The fuck a hero is doing here, of all places? She growled, but then felt it. It's all over. Arad shifted into his draconic form, Zephyr enlarging the greatsword to fit his size. We fired the quiet that Swyhander was taken from Alcott's house, a blade he once used and now left with his mother, so she can sell it and live by the money if he happened to die in a quest. The blade had one property that wasn't that useful to fighters, the ability to channel magic into the strike, sucking it from the user. Arad's void magic flew across the sword, rushing out from the tip as a constant stream akin to his breath, rising into the stars. Anne growled. That's an attack. If I got hit, that magic would erase my body from existence. channeling all of his magic into one hit. She then smiled. If he misses, it's my win. Surprise? Forget about me? Merlin whispered in Anne's ear, touching her back. Anne turned, seeing Nina carrying the bandaged Merlin. Give me my power back. Anne was already releasing magic to protect and empower her body. The moment Merlin came into contact with that, she sucked all of her powers back, leaving Anne vulnerable. Give it back, Anne cried. Nope. Merlin teleported away with Nina, leaving Anne facing Arad's falling sword swash. Unlike before, the strike was silent, dark, and without any sparks. The void feels down, erasing everything in its way like an eraser on a chalkboard. As the strike ended, air rushed in to fill the void, exploding in a massive blast that caused Lucy to cry, "Owa, that hurts!" Arad looked at the ground. Sorry about it. Don't worry. A flower emerged from the ground. I'm the one who asked you to finish it in one strike. I'd rather take one painful hit than multiple ones with you going crazy. Lydia looked around, standing alone at the bottom of the pit surrounded by vipers. Don't worry, Jack descended toward her with his rope. They are harmless. That what Arad said. Really? Lydia looked down at the countless snakes, and they looked back at her, hissing and coiling around, wagging their tails like dogs. She smiled. Looking at Jack's wakizashi, to think that small thing is a holy sword, it's strange, isn't it? It's not about size, it's about how to use it. He sheathed the sword. But it's strange to have a rogue as a hero. It's Lady Amaterasu's will. And that is an ancient blade from a long-forgotten era. She approached Jack. You're the hero, and I'm your sword and shield. This chapter is updated by Preed, chapter 586, Eldritch End. Ting. Anne opened her eyes, staring at an endless darkness. Where am I? She growled, trying to move, but her body felt heavy. Each time she tried to take a step, it felt like she was to the neck in mud. Hello? She shouted, and then went silent, trying to cast a light spell. She felt the mana leaving her body, but no magic showed up. Does anyone hear me? She screamed again. You won't shut up, will you? A voice replied to her from the darkness, old and crackling. You've been a real pain, do you know that? She smiled. This voice, I feel like I heard it before. Show yourself. We need to talk. She said, I would love to know what's happening here. Two blue eyes flashed in the darkness. There is nothing for me to explain to you, the voice replied. Starting a mess close to me, you have a real problem, don't you? Who are you? Show yourself, Anne called. I'm sure I've heard your voice before. From the darkness, an old, wrinkled face with blue eyes, white hair, and a beard stared at her. You messed up, he said. You old, creaking bastard. Cain. She smiled. I guess it's my lucky day, released. Pew. A sharp magic bolt, infused with mind control magic, flew from her forehead, a last measure spell she had already precast and stored inside her head as a gem. Even in anti-magic zones, she could still release it. Thud. The bolt stuck in Cain's forehead. His head tilted back a bit, then returned to place. What's this? He said, and her face paled. His eyes burned with disturbing blue flames as he smiled, opening his mouth. His tongue extended outward like a tentacle and pulled the bolt from his forehead, and he swallowed it. Mree? Anne started sweating as she saw Cain tilt his head with a disgusting smile. How cute a mind control spell. What mind are you trying to control? He giggled. What are you? Anne cried. Come on, Cain laughed. Tell me, which mind did you try to control? At that moment, Anne felt a sharp headache as she unconsciously sensed Cain's mind. Millions, no billions of brains, she cried, her eyes almost popping. Cute, isn't it? Cain looked at her. I'm not someone the likes of you can control. I find it hard to find a match to me, even if I'm the one trying to make them. I said, what are you? Anne screamed. Me? Cain looked at her. Now that's the next level of rude, don't you know? Everyone should know when they think deeply about it. It's a cosmic rule that I set. Anne's face grew paler, absolute omnipotent. She mumbled. See, you know? He tilted his head with a grin. Your crime is waking me from my slumber, and now you get to pay for it. This is neither heaven or hell. It's where I keep those who deserve it for the past and future. A ball of light appeared in the ceiling, and Anne's eyes got blinded for a moment. She's been in the darkness for so long. As her vision slowly returned, she realized what she'd been into. Aga. She screamed, seeing her naked body stuck in a pool of writhing worms. She tried to move, but just realized that her ankles were chained to the ground. Calm down. You're a noisy one, aren't you? He giggled. Get me out of here, now, she cried. Don't worry, death can't claim you here. Cain looked at her. Those worms would eat your body, leaving only your brain, spinal cord, and nerves intact. I will add those to my collection, and you'll live forever in the hive mind of the collective consciousness. Yeah. Get me out, she cried as she saw Cain turn around to leave, leaning on his cane and tapping his back. Ah, this is a pain. Get me out, get me out. Cain stopped, looking back. Eat slowly He recited all the worms' names at once. I don't want you to get stomachache. He left, leaving Anne behind. Cain opened his eyes, sitting on the chair in his shop. He stood approaching the window and opening it. He took a deep breath. What should I wear? I've never been a fashion one. He looked at the table, a sealed letter with a new seal on it. Baron Araid Orion, and another with the holy seal of the church. Cain lifted the letter, the hero ceremony at the church in the capital, and then this. He lifted the letter, reading the content without opening it. Are you going? His maid approached. Of course I'll go, Cain replied. I have to whack that brat in the head with my cane, getting this old man to move a lot. Exercise is good for your health, she replied with a smile. I hope you're ready to help me pick something to wear. He looked at her. And you better do a good job. She smiled. Would I get a reward if I did a bad job? No, he replied, and she sighed, sad. Fine. You want the fancy one, or the normal one? She asked. Something normal, he replied. That cheeky Arad having several weddings in a row instead of a big one. Does he think people can attend for a month? That's a third of the winter. Merlin's heater is working, so the cold won't be a problem, she replied. Did you read the letter? Cain looked at her. No, it's sealed, she replied, as if it was obvious. You could have read it like this. A maid doesn't read or tinker with its master's letters, she replied with a straight face. He's holding the wedding at the foot of the mountain. In that village he's building? Cain looked back. The heater doesn't reach there, and he seems to be relying on one red wormling for heat. One wormling? She looked at Cain. She could do it. But that's hard work. Dragons are prideful. She'll die before accepting to be a freeloader on his land. I'm sure she's the one who asked for a job, and that's what she got. Cain waved his hand. I'm right. She's getting paid in food, protection, and gold to start forming her own horde. Cain sighed. He even gave her a cave to use as a lair on his land. Visit Veredo. Hor, the best novel reading experience. Chapter 587, An Infernal Spark. Chapter 587, An Infernal Spark. Thud. Aella put the water bucket beside the oven and looked toward Tina. How is it? It's almost done. Can you bring me the garlic? She replied with a smile, looking back as her breath left a trail in the frigid air. Ah, we're out of that, Aella gasped. Hold for a few minutes. I will bring some. She turned to leave. Wait, you don't need to go all the way to the city. We can do without it, Tina called her, almost spilling the soup from the large iron pot. Tap! Aella stopped just before opening the door. I did smell some in the village. I bet one has some. You're going to ask for it. Garlic is expensive, you know. Tina approached the window. She opened it, letting the fresh air in and the smoke out. What about Master Arad? Won't he have some in his stomach? Probably not, but I can always find some in the forest. Aella opened the door and rushed out. Tina sighed. She's too energetic for a bride. Nobles I saw get really docile, trying to figure out what clothes they wear. She returned to cooking, and here she is, running around like she has all the energy of the world. Crunch, crunch. Ayla ran down in the snow, walking down the dirt paths toward the village. On her way, she passed by the wormling red Dracaena standing in the middle of the plaza, breathing fire into the air. Gash! Akei, Ignis. Good work. How are you today? Ignis stopped and looked at Ayla, running toward her. It's a bit colder today. Getting the outer edges of the village is becoming harder, she replied with a strange voice coming down her throat. Ayla looked at her. That necklace Merlin made is working well, isn't it? Ignis wore a golden necklace around her neck, enchanted with magic from Merlin. The necklace automatically muffles the wearer's voice, translated into another language, and then releases the sound as words. The necklace translates Draconic into human language. Since now only Arad, Eris, Zephyr, and Merlin can understand what Ignis says. Do you need anything to make it easier? Ayla asked with a gentle smile. No, it will soon be heated, Ignis replied. Minor inconvenience? Nothing that I can't handle? Well then, Ayla turned. See you later. She waved her hand, rushing out to search for garlic. Isn't that Lady Ayla? A man at the smithy turned toward Mira and Eris. Isn't she looking for you? Eris stared back at him. She would have come if that was the case, Eris replied. You're the one who said you left the house without saying a word, he replied, lifting a box of hinges and nails and walking with it toward Mira. Eris! Mira looked at her. Keep the heat up. Eris turned back toward the forge, seeing that the flame quickly dwindled. Really? I was just blasting it. She extended her hand in, unleashing a burst of fire and sparks of plasma. Keep the heat. Welding those things together is a pain, Mira replied, turning toward the dwarf smith. How are the frames? Done. The dwarf woman replied with a smile. We're ready to assemble. Then give me a minute. I need to reheat those. Mira looked at Eris. Keep the heat this time. Yes, yes. Why aren't we using firewood? It's a valuable resource for the village. We can't waste it on making boxes and doors, Mira replied. Not when we have you. With how hot your fire is, we don't need to wait that long for the metal to heat up, she added. What am I now? A forge fire. She looked at the sky. I wonder what Arad is doing. I heard he's out with Zephyr trying to find an infernal spark, Mira replied. Really? Eris looked at her. Why didn't he tell me? I'm good with fire. I could have helped fetch it out. If he took you with him, who would stay to light the forge? Mira stared at her with a smile, and I was thinking I missed a chance not to be here heating a forge. Eris looked at Mira. What's the infernal spark for? Don't you know? Arad opened the door and walked in, finding her in her underwear changing. You said I could come in? He stared at her, closed the door. Merlin pointed out, and are you worried about seeing this much after everything? Not really, Arad replied, walking inside. He then looked at the floor beneath Merlin's feet, seeing a familiar white hide. Is this? He mumbled with a droplet of sweat dripping from his forehead. That abominable yeti I managed to retrieve and skin him. She replied with a smile. I said I would use him as a carpet, didn't I? People don't usually take those threats literally. But I do, she replied, pulling a chair toward her desk and sitting. You brought it, didn't you? Arad pulled a glowing ember from his stomach. Is this it? Yes. Didn't Zephyr tell you that it's what you're looking for? She said probably. Merlin looked at Zephyr. You said you know it. I'm more proficient with wind-based objects. I did have an idea of what we looked for, but not an exact one. She waved her hands. It doesn't matter now. Merlin took the infernal spark and tapped it with a wand. It sparked with a flash. Zephyr opened her hand, pulling the fire spark she collected after the labyrinth fell. I already paid the fire spirit for it. You can start the summoning, Zephyr said. Sorry you had to deal with her. I know you high spirits don't like each other that much. Merlin looked at her. Are you joking? Zephyr replied. It was humiliating for me to ask that stupid cow for help. That dumb smirk on her face. I will make her cry one day, she growled. Merlin placed the infernal ember on a pedestal, and Zephyr sent the flame to it. This chapter is updated by https://lair-elbeer, HNR-ALT Chapter 588 Elemental Fire. Magic can kill the user. That's a well-known fact between mages. The power of the arcane is both powerful and harmful, since the body itself can't regulate it without the consciousness. The ember spark flashed with light as it ignited with the flame. Zephyr kept Merlin waved her hand around it, trying to form it as best as possible. Elementals are some of the strongest beings in the world, rivaling dragons and ancient spirits in their might. The ancient scholar Olivia once said that if dragons are 100 in power, then they have 50-50 between physical strength and elemental energy. Elementals are 90, with that whole 90 dedicated to their elemental magic. A dragon can't win against them in a fight of magic. Here she comes. I was right. Zephyr smiled. That nova should have killed Anne if your curse witch didn't direct it toward the wall at the last moment. She stared at the flames. But that was all good. She sealed this spark after all. We have Doma to thank for that, Arad said, extending his hand toward the flames. That attack was reckless. How did she do that as a mere soul? Merlin sighed and looked at Arad. It's your turn again. Break all the chains. I ready. Send me in. Arad cracked his neck. Merlin waved her hand and the whole room disappeared. Arad found himself standing in a large wasteland of rock, mountains, and hills. A massive orb of fire flew in the air while chained to the ground with golden chains. Amber's magic was actively trying to break her body down. It wasn't a side effect, but one of the flame's main purposes. Arad took a step, and flames burst from the orb, charring the ground, but the flame's main purpose wasn't killing Amber. It was only getting rid of her weak human body. It was probably close to how draconic sorcerers can grow wings and scales over time, but the process and result differ from one origin of power to another. Arad approached the first of the 10 chains, grabbing it with his hands. Using all of his might, he shattered it with one move. The flames were trying to transform her into something akin to a fire elemental, an evolution like mine. He stared at the next chains as the flames got hotter, and like me, Amber needed something that she didn't have. The infernal spark is a source of power to sustain her transformation, just like how the cursed metal is for me. And without it, I could die mid-evolution. Crack. Arad shattered the second chain. Doma only knew that if Amber's flames wanted her dead, she would have burned first before unleashing that attack. But the flames obeyed her to the end, and only burned her last. For that reason, she cursed Amber's soul so she wouldn't leave the mortal world and remain as a fire spark. The same curse that keeps people's souls wandering the world as ghosts and vengeful beings. Crack. Crack, Arad broke the third and fourth chains, and the fire exploded again, melting the mountains around. We had her preserved, but none of us was an expert in fire or its magic. Even Doma didn't study it much, but had only focused on curses. Crack. The fifth chain broke, and Arad took a step toward the sixth. The only reason we knew of the infernal spark and this whole thing is Zephyr. As a high spirit, she knew some people who were experts in fire. Arad shattered the sixth chain, the fire spirit, since the ritual already failed once. The world would reject her back to the elemental plane of fire, where she would serve the goddess there for all eternity, probably why she let her use the power in the first place. Arad broke the seventh chain. Those are the chains that pull her there, and that's why I need to break them. Usually it's an impossible feat, but I alone can do it since my void can isolate me from the spark that burns everything. He looked at the fire. Those aren't Amber's flames. They are coming from the elemental plane of fire. This whole place is like a land between the worlds. Crack. Arad shattered the eighth chain, and the ground started melting. We had to go through several steps, sealing Amber's soul, which was done by Doma, getting the infernal spark, which I did dig out of the burning land beside the capital. Merlin was the one to put Amber's soul inside the infernal spark, and now I'm here to break the chains. Crack! He shattered the 9th chain, and the fire got so hot that matter started flying through his void, reaching into his scales. Arad's body started expanding as he transformed into his draconic form, empowering his void as he walked across the hellish blaze of the plane of fire. In that place, there is no air to breathe, no solid land to stand on, and not a single drop of natural magic in the land besides fire. Outside, Merlin looked at her hand. The demi-plane I made is quaking. It's about to happen again. She looked at Zephyr. Another blast. Do you think he would survive it? He has an elemental advantage over her. Zephyr replied, The void is a high element, just like light and time. He should survive as long as he can endure the heat and lack of air. But we can be sure his body won't combust out of nowhere like how everything else ends in the flames of the elemental plane of fire. Zephyr sighed. Or this is at least what the fire spirit said. She's even providing us with a vessel. I doubt she'll deceive us at this point. Veer Crack Arad shattered the 10th chain, seeing the flames around his rage into a blood-red blaze shifting to blue. He stood there, staring at the orb where Amber's soul and the infernal spark were. He should pull her out. Whoosh! The flames disappeared and he took a step back, hearing the silence as a tiny, blindingly white speck of dust flew from the ground. Survive this, and I'll let you have that woman. This chapter is updated by Giant Brime, Chapter 589, Ho White Nova. Chapter 589, Ho White Nova. The moment Arad saw the white dot emerging, every cell in his body screamed to run, to make a dragon feel fear, who was the one that challenged him. Ho White. Nova flap. Arad expanded his wings, void expansion. He flew around the orb, expanding his void to cover the whole place, devouring all the flames. That thing was small, as tiny as a speck of sand, but the power surging in it was more than anything he had ever seen. The void rushed from around Arad and covered the orb, trying to digest it, but that seemed impossible. The more he ate, the more came out of it. No, wait. If I failed, she would die. He looked at the chained flames. He opened his jaw, swallowing the orb and canceling his expansion. Zon. He immediately teleported out into Alina's sky. Merlin was sitting with Zephyr talking about magic when they suddenly felt it. Blood gushed out of Merlin's nose as her eyes were bloodshot. Zephyr froze in place, staring at the sky. The hell is that? This magic. It's over 9th tier spells? How? Merlin looked up. She was spreading her magic across the city to control the heater, and when she came into contact with Arad and the orb, she got jolted. I don't know. It's more magic than what I have. Zephyr flew out, seeing Arad above the city, looking around with a panicked look on his face. Arad, what's happening? She screamed. Flap! Bam! Arad flapped his wings, blasting away as fast as he could, teleporting forward every time he could. Clack. Zephyr heard something down, and when she looked through Merlin's window, she smiled. Wait, the spell worked? Then why? She flew back in. Clap. Arad flew over the lands, each flap of his wings sending a shockwave that reached the ground. Faster to keep going forward, this thing is about to explode. Doma shouted in his head, Arad, drop it. This isn't worth the risk. Mom screamed, No, I'm not missing this chance. I'm dropping this on his head. You're an idiot, In. Alina Kane laughed his guts off. Only dragons think like this. Go, stick it up his ass, he shouted, then started laughing. Jemima, water. As Arad flew across the lands, the grass slowly seemed to fade as it shifted into a dead wasteland without a single leaf in sight. We're almost there, but we don't have that much time, Doma shouted, and Arad could see it in the distance, a massive grim castle in the middle of a large, ruined city. Leagues of vampires walked around, forming an endless army. The vampires looked at the horizon, seeing Arad flying toward them at a horrifying speed, his roar shaking the clouds. The hell is that? A stray dragon? No, those black scales and wings. It's that dragon the Lord talked about? One shouted, jumping into the sky and expanding his wings. He came to us on his own. Prepare to take him down. Vlad was sitting at the dinner table when he felt something off. He put the blood glass down and looked at the window. This overflowing magic, what in the hell, Flap? Arad flew over the soldier and stopped right before the castle. He doesn't have any time left. Kill him! The general of the vampires shouted. Arad opened his jaw, flapping his wings in the middle of the air, looking down at the ground. A stream of fire gushed down his throat, blasting the ruined city into a sea of flames. The vampires growled, the weakest of them getting charred into ash while the rest protected their faces. A fire breath, so he has a red lineage, an overly black purple dragon. The stream of fire coming out of Arad's throat turned into a transparent gas filled with purple shards of plasma, and the vampires got certain. He's a purple dragon. Use ice magic, one shouted. Vlad looked out of the window, protecting his face from the heat. Something is off. Why does he have the courage to attack my castle alone? The gust of gas coming from Arad's throat shifted into a pure stream of plasma as he emptied the contents of his stomach that was heated into oblivion by the orb. A hole started being dug in the city as the plasma gushing out of Arad's mouth exploded, keeping all the vampires at bay. Wait for him to stop spewing plasma, then attack as he recovers. The vampire general shouted, "His head is ours. We'll offer it to our lord." Vlad blinked. Oh, fuck. He just felt it coming. In a moment of silence, Arad's plasma breath stopped, and a single dot of light dropped out of his jaw, heading toward the ground. Zahn. Arad teleported upward, immediately, not waiting a fraction of a second to see what happens. The dot dropped, its blinding light illuminating the whole city and castle as their shadows danced across the land. Ding. It touched the ground, and in the blink of an eye, a blast akin to a blazing white sun consumed the whole city, covering several kilometers around. Arad emerged from his teleportation. But he didn't get out of range in time, losing his legs and tail, barely made it. He gasped, flapping his wings as he ran away from the expanding fireball, getting his wings and torso burned like a man sleeping on a blazing forge. Armin, a man called, "Bring the sheep this way," coming. The child replied to his father, waving his cane to hush the herd uphill. He then noticed his shadow extending rapidly as the ground washed with red light. He turned around alongside his father, seeing a massive fire mushroom rising on the horizon beneath the dusk. Alongside the first star of the night, they saw a fireball rush toward them, engulfed in cinder and smoke bam. The massive being crashed at the hillside, sending a blast that sent the poor farmer and his child flying away. The hell was that? The father cried. Dad. That was the forbidden land, wasn't it? The kid cried. The father looked around. The vampires live in that direction. What's happening? He turned toward where the fireball crashed, thinking it was a chunk of debris. The man froze as his knees started shaking. That was a dragon. Arad opened his eyes, his vision blurry. Grrr! A growl escaped his throat as he lifted his head. His hind legs, wings, tail, and hips were too damaged to lift him up. The best he could do was sit up. Dad, it's a dragon. I never saw one. The kid screamed, and the farmer slapped his hand on his mouth. Shh, don't make a noise. A dragon's attention is the last thing we want. The kid grunted, his lips burning. The father whispered, Listen, we're ants. We don't talk back to those bigger than us. Arad turned toward them. Humans, fear not. I'm not here to harm you. The father didn't dare reply, only looking back, prying the dragon wouldn't pounce on them. Armin pushed his father's hand away. Dragon, what happened there? You came from it, didn't you? He pointed at the smoke mushroom in the distance. The kid cried with sparkling eyes. That's Vlad's kingdom of vampires? The father gasped. I was lucky. I didn't know if Vlad was there or not, as I simply tracked the biggest mass of vampirism curse. But he was, Arad said with a proud grin. He ate a whole human city that was behind my protection. So I blew his whole kingdom off. His body had already regenerated, so he stood. Dragon, wait! Armin rushed toward him. Was that your breath that blew it up? Arad thought about it for a moment. Yes, it was my breath. He extended his wings. I'll be leaving, he looked at the kid. And listen to your father. Most of the dragons would just kill and eat you." He flew into the distance, leaving the two watching. The father looked back at the mushroom cloud and the first star of the night. Venus, the dragon of destruction, the people local area were frequently preyed upon by the vampires. To them, the dragon, who appeared out of nowhere and blew them to dust, was nothing less than a saving deity. They gave him the name of the star he came from and kept that held in for the coming generations. Arad flew back to Alina, teleporting directly into Merlin's lab the moment he got within range. Arad, Zephyr, flew at him. "What happened?" "What was that?" she cried. "Don't worry," he replied. "What's happened to Amber?" "Weebed at Clark. Amber is fine. The important thing is, what was that?" Amber was supposed to serve the fire goddess. She didn't like me taking her away, so she tried to give me a divine punishment and sent me a spell she called Ho White Nova. I was to take Amber if I survived that. Arad smiled, putting his arms on his hips. The spell didn't explode for a whole minute, so I searched for the vampirism curse with Doma's help and dropped the thing on Vlad's castle. Click! Merlin opened the door and walked in. "Is what I heard right? You dropped what on Vlad?" "A Ho White Nova," he replied. It was stated in texts as one of the divine abilities of the fire goddess, one of her weakest spells, Holy Origin White Nova. Merlin looked at him. "To be honest, you would have been fine if you teleported out of the domain with Amber. That's a powerful blast, but it can't travel dimension." "What?" He looked at her. "I'll explain later. Want to see Amber?" "She's asleep in the other room." She pointed with her thumb. New novel chapters are published on Ely, A New Deal. Chapter 590, A New Deal. Arad walked to the other room, seeing a humanoid figure of a woman made of crimson flames asleep on a stone bed. "Is this her?" he asked. "You're right," Merlin replied. "Fire elementals are made of pure fire and heat." She grabbed a steel rod and waved it into Amber's body. The rod passed as if nothing was there. "She's really only made of flames. But look." When she passed the rod inside Amber's chest, clack, clack, as if it hit a stone. The infernal spark is where her heart should be. It's the source of her power and the only weak point a fire elemental has. Destroying it means she dies unless she can find another source of fuel. Merlin explained. Zephyr flew and sat on Arad's head. If the infernal spark was destroyed, she could survive off burning wood or anything that can. But the spark is the only thing that can sustain an elemental for a long time. Arad sat on a chair. "That means we have to find more infernal sparks for her." He looked around. "How long will this one last?" "About a year," Merlin replied. "The elemental plane of fire is made of them, and there they are more common than stones. So most summoned elementals usually don't have to worry about. But she needs to worry." "Is there a way to go there?" he asked. "No, that I know of." Merlin sat on another chair. "For now she's fine, and will wake soon. We will discuss this with her when that time comes." On another note, Zephyr stared at him. "What was that Ho White Nova spell? You could teleport with it. So you at least understand its concept, right?" "Nothing complex," Arad replied. "A concentrated ball of pure fire and heat frozen with time magic for 1 minute. So she took a lot of energy, compressed it till it was about to explode, and then, to keep it safe to handle, she froze it in time to half the explosion." Merlin scratched her head. "How large was the damage?" "It blew an area about 5 times larger than Alina into dust. I'm not even close to having a fraction of that energy." He looked at Amber. "I doubt even Brother has it, but I'm certain Mother would be able to output that much. So it's only a matter of time before you start dropping those left and right." Zephyr sighed. "You magic dragons are a real pain," she giggled. "Time's dragons have always been and always existed, traveling freely through time. The prismatic light dragons travel the world in the blink of an eye. They can outrun teleportation magic and have been known to punch time dragons through time itself. And you void dragons can alter the matter of existence itself, shifting the powers of the world. Where did you know that? Merlin stared at her. I'm a high spirit. I know more than you humans do. She looked at Arad. Remember not to blast that like it's nothing. There are people living around. You must keep your powers in check. I know that, he stood. I need to go as I have some preparation. The marriage. Zephyr smiled, Ayla being jumping around like an excited puppy. You better hurry, Arad nodded. Zahn, he teleported away. Is it normal for someone to survive that? Merlin asked, looking at Zephyr. Nope, he's the first I hear of to survive a divine tribulation, and on top he used it to blast Vlad. She scratched her head. It's possible the goddess gave him more time, as she knew of his intention to blow Vlad. Is that even possible? Gods weigh their options more than humans do, Zephyr sighed. Instead of blessing multiple paladins and starting a crusade, it was probably convenient to let a dragon blast him. So you're saying her objective might have shifted from punishing Arad for trying to take Amber away from her, into giving him a divine mission to blast Vlad and Amber being the reward? Gods have extreme foresight. She might have already guessed Arad's first thought would be blasting Vlad. Zephyr started flying. I'm going as well. I need to talk with the fire spirit once more. I thought you hated her so much that you wouldn't initiate an unnecessary conversation. We can't let Amber go into the world like this. She'll burn everyone she touches. I will try to negotiate a fire pixie body for her, Zephyr replied. You can't grant her one, Merlin asked. I can only give birth to wind spirits. We're limited to our elements. She looked at Amber. I can't grant fire bodies. Care to tell me about the process later? Merlin smiled. It would be a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get a high spirit talking about the pixie's ascension. I don't know about that, Zephyr shook her head. It's not a ritual we share with outsiders. Moon spider lilies nectar. I have a full flower bed fully grown in one of my greenhouses. Zephyr froze in place. Where did you get those? Droll dripping from her lips. Oh. I have dragon tongue. Euros's ash rose and wisdom apple roses as well. Merlin looked at her with a smile. It's a give-and-take deal information for the flowers. I won't ask how you know, and you won't ask how I got those deal. Zephyr smiled. You better keep your part of the deal. Thud, Arad, landed at his village's entrance, walking through the wooden gate. Lord Arad, you're back. A man rushed to greet him. He's the guard responsible for the gate. How is the building going? Arad asked. The castle? The guard looked back, pointing toward the mountain. As you can see, it's progressing nicely. I heard them say they can start building the keep by the end of the winter. Arad? An old lady approached them, a smile on her face. She barely stood at 1.6 meters due to her hunched back, and she looked at Arad, barely opening her eyes. Grandma, Arad smiled. That was Nina's grandma. Ah? A thief, a man screamed, pointing toward an adventurer who was running away after not paying for what he bought. This was something that plagued small villages that lacked guards. Arad sighed, getting ready to catch the thief. Bam! The old lady blasted away before anyone could react. The adventurer laughed, jumping over the fence. Catch me if you can! Bam! Thud! Nina's grandma quickly ran past him, her golden glowing eyes fixed on his face. What? He gasped, and she grabbed him by the wrist, smacking him in the face with a kick, and sent him flying back to the village. What in the hell? The guard gasped. He could barely see the old lady run after that thief. Barbarians rarely live to old age due to their wild lifestyle, and those who do aren't people you should underestimate. Arad giggled. She's at least at a B-rank adventurer level despite her age. Visit ear visit. For the best novel reading experience, Chapter 591, Guests from Afar. The gate guard stared at Nina's grandmother. She's fast. Zahn thud. Arad teleported away and immediately came back, two strangers unconscious in his hands.
Me? Me more rats, Grandma Shear said with a smile, approaching Arad and dragging the thief behind her.
They were hiding in the forest, Arad replied, glaring at the thief that Grandma Shear caught. The thief stared at the two men with a worried face, sweat dripping down his scratched face. "I don't know them," he cried. "You do," Arad threw the two unconscious men at the ground. "They are bandits pretending to be adventurers. I'm sure they are targeting the village since it looks new and lacks guards. You're going to catch them yourself." The guard gasped, looking at Arad with a worried face. "Leave it to the guards. Izdis's knights can't handle everything." "I would like them to keep patrolling the city," Arad replied, "and I would prefer not to lose any soldiers now." "If you don't mind?" A voice came from behind them. When Arad looked, he saw a familiar old man with glowing golden eyes, a silky long beard reaching his knees, and long hair approaching him wearing a gold-laced white robe. "Kinryu." Arad smiled. "I didn't feel you around." The golden general of the metallic dragons came to visit. Great worms can do more than camouflage their colors with their surroundings. "I received your message and came as soon as I could." Kinryu combed his beard. "You've grown strong. Not enough to feel you, it seems." Kinryu laughed. "That can't be helped. We spend centuries perfecting it to fight each other, right?" "It is so." A deep, heavy, rumbling voice shook the forest, and everyone in the city looked toward the gate, seeing a titanic red dragon emerging out of thin air, his wing covering the whole village in its shadow. "But you need to work on your senses," he said, looking at Arad with a smile. The guard standing beside Arad started shaking. "What's this?" "The general of the chromatic dragons, and this one of the metallic dragons. I sent them a magic letter to invite them." "Hello there, little one." The massive red dragon said, staring at the guard. His breath alone felt like standing in front of a blazing forge. "About the bandits." Kinryu approached Arad with a smile. "We brought 10 great worms each as guards. They want to handle that for fun. Is that all right?" Arad looked at the sky. Grandma Shear tapped her back. "Oh my, so many flying ones." 20 great worms appeared in the sky as they canceled their camouflage, blotting the sun. 10 of them were metallic and came to guard Kinryu, and the other 10 were chromatic for the opposite. "I don't mind," Arad nodded, "but don't kill them. We're sending them to Alina so they can deal with them. Flap!" The dragons flew toward the bandits' camp, which to them was like taking 5 steps aside. The bandits looked at the sky as it turned dark. They rushed out. "What's happening?" "I don't know." One of them ran toward the forest, hitting an invisible wall before reaching it. "What's this?" He tapped the wall with his hand, trying to feel it. "It's smooth and cold." The dragons canceled their camouflage, and the bandit found himself feeling the side of a silver drachyna's massive tail. "Careful, human," she growled. "I'm not known for dexterity." The man fell on his back, crawling away. The tail alone was 20 meters thick at least. When trying to look at the drachyna's head, it seemed to be far in the distance, close to the mountains. "Oi, look around," one of them cried, and they could see there were 20 great worms surrounding their camps. "What's happening?" One gasped. They were done for. "You better give up and surrender, humans." A black dragon growled, acid dripping between his teeth, melting the trees. "Even the dragon hunter Alcott won't be able to escape us," a green dragon said. "He could do it," a bronze dragon said in the back. "I agree. He's flash us first and then go for the eyes," a copper dragon added with a smile. "Might even use one of us as a shield to create an opening to run. We know he'll flash us. We can close our eyes and then attack," the green dragon argued. "The fool," a blue dragon stared at the green one. "I have to agree with the metallic scales over there. Closing our eyes? We're giving him the opening to run that he wanted without him working for it," as the dragons argued. Some of the bandits tried to slip away, but they were instantly frozen with magic. "You aren't Alcott." The silver drachyna stared at them. "You're helpless against us." Back in the city, Arad smiled. "I'm going home. Are you coming?" he asked. "Of course," Kinryu smiled. "Where else could we go? He's staying in the forest, though." He pointed at the red general. "I can't shapeshift into a human. It's not that your neck can't make it all the way to my house without you sitting in the forest." Arad looked at him. "You're right. It doesn't matter if I sat 1 step away." To a dragon his size, 1 step is several hundreds of meters. Giant monsters, Grandma Shear said, looking at the dragons. You're right, Kinryu replied with a smile. We're too big, too strong, and too destructive to the fragile world. He looked at the village. We metallic call for restraint and humility to make sure our power doesn't harm the little ones. Chromatic calls us insane for it, and that's why we fight all the time. He looked at Arad. To be clear, the Red General looked down. It's like humans trying to rights to ants. Can you punish every human for every ant they stepped on? Ants can't speak, can't think, can't reply. Grandma Shear looked at the red dragon. Humans do. Ants think as well. They're far more organized and intelligent than humans, the red dragon replied. It's you humans who are too stupid to understand other creatures, always consumed by your own thoughts and ambitions. Ask him. They can speak, Arad replied. I can understand them. He looked at one of the fences where ants rushed into their burrow. Hurry, go inside, an ant cried, or the massive ones might stomp you. We chromatic are you humans. We don't want to be bothered by the rights of those smaller than us. If you want to question us, then question yourselves first. Give the ants, the bugs, and the animals their rights first, then ask about yours from our claws. Kinryu scratched his head. We're trying to find a middle ground here. I'm saying there is no middle ground. You metallic better stop your insane ideals. Humans can reach us, Alcott proved it. That's one. One human dropping dragons down. There are millions of fire ants alone dropping humans left and right. Why haven't they approved of them yet? We aren't going to do it over one human that would perish sooner than tomorrow. Don't fight here, Arad stared at them. The two dragons sighed. We'll finish this later. They agreed to not agree later. Speaking of things proving power, Kinryu approached Arad. The hell was that thing you dropped on Vlad's kingdom? Yeah. That massive blast. The source of this content is dear. You can chapter 592, Invitations, chapter 592, Invitations. They are talking in Draconic, so no one in the village understands them. A divine punishment from the goddess of fire. I took it and threw it down on Vlad. Arad replied, walking with Kinryu toward his house. The punishment was for you or him. It was supposed to be for me, and even with that you carried it to Vlad and blasted him. Kinryu combed his beard. I never heard of such a feat before. The closest I can remember is a story from history. I was live at the time as well, the Red General replied, when Kusuth killed Tiamat. That was an angry mom if I ever saw one. Kinryu giggled. It comes to show how dangerous we dragons are. What happened? Arad looked back at them. The chromatic dragonkin was looking for a mate and came for her. She refused since she already had 2 daughters, so they fought. Let me guess. She won? She wiped the ground with him. Her husband was weak, and she acted quite tame to humans. It was close to a gentle mother. Everyone thought she was weak. Why would he go after her if she was weak? The chromatic king was experimenting with genetics at the time, and he had his eyes on her. Kinryu replied. I was a mere young at the time, and I saw it happen for the sidelines. The Red General replied. But in the short story, she won, and Tiamat wasn't happy as she was supporting the king's experiments to make the chromatic dragons stronger. So, Kinryu looked at Arad. Tiamat cursed the 2 daughters Kusuth, tried to protect to kill each other. Tiamat is still out there, right? Arad looked at the Red General. Not the same one. Tiamat had changed 3 times. The one Kusuth killed, the one after, and then another. You can say currently Tiamat is a duality of the second and third ones, the Red General explained. The evil one died for good. Kusuth murdered her well. Since that day, dragons were the first race to be able to kill gods without divinity. She just went to her and clawed her down. Kinryu swung his fist with a smile. So why this reminds you of what happened to me? I took a divine punishment. I didn't face any god. Arad looked at them. Since that red Dracina is the fire goddess now. She's the one who sent that divine punishment after you. Kinryu looked at him. If she killed a goddess as a mortal, then what now as a divine being? What she did to you was immensely tame. The Red General approached his head to Arad. Kusuth is the goddess of fire. Her older daughter Morena is the goddess of undeath and undead, and the young one Zalaria is the goddess of war and inferno. A family of monsters wait. Arad gasped. What's their family name? Is it Shadowend? It is, Kinryu replied. How did you know? I faced a demon while disguised as a red dragon. He suspected me of being a Shadowend when I said I'm from a family of fire sorcerers. Arad scratched his chin. So this is why they fear that family name. Pretty much. If that's the case, do you know anything about Orion? If you're asking about your mother, there is only one, and all the higher dragons know her. She's a weird one, Kinryu said, and the Red General nodded. What do you know? She's too powerful to walk the earth in her draconic form. She uses a humanoid body that she controls from her lair to live multiple lives as if she's playing a game. Kinryu sighed. Some dragons believe she was given a divine mission by the Overgod, but an extremely boring one, and that's why she plays like that. The Red General looked at the sky. That being isn't malevolent nor benevolent. I'm sure she got paid in some way, but we don't know. She didn't tell anyone?
Bird, acta.
I met her once. Kinryu looked at Arad, and I asked her that question. What did she reply? She said to tell anyone who asked me the question. Look for it on your own. You're old enough, big idiot. Kinryu said those words and paused for a second. Wait a damn minute. Why, I'm only remembering this now. He smacked his own head. I knew it, he growled, pulling a strand of magic. That's, the Red General gasped, a memory thread. The Baya-Hem, that Dracana, Kinryu growled. Arad. She seems to have put a memory thread in my head to remember that at this specific moment. She probably meant those words for you. Is that spell pre-configured or controlled from a distance? Arad gasped. Too complicated for me to say. Kinryu squinted his eyes at the fading magic thread. Arad smiled. It's worth a shot. He looked at the sky. Mom, if you're watching, I'm getting married soon. Drop by if you can. Think she's hearing you? The Red General said, as far as I can tell, there is only one weirdo watching you. You mean her? Kinryu looked at the clouds. I'm sure she's watching. I sent her a magic letter yesterday. It should reach her tonight, Arad replied as he walked with Kinryu across the village. Lord Arad, an old grandma called him. Do you mind helping me move the cows? They are quite unwilling today. Arad stopped and looked at her. Kinryu smiled. Well, of course they would be. He approached the farm. They are sick. The cold drinking water wasn't that good for them. He jumped over the fence. You're going to help her? Arad asked. Yeah, Kinryu replied. I will deal with this. Can't just sit around, can I? He turned toward the grandma. Let's go. I can heal them. What did you need from the cows? Kinryu asked. Milk, of course. We need it to make butter. The Lord is marrying soon, and the ladies are scrambling to make sweets. The grandma replied. Then let me help you. Kinryu smiled. I might not look like it, but I'm a farmer as well. Really? She looked at him. I saw you with the Lord and thought you're some kind of noble, especially with those fancy clothes. I'm no noble, just a humble soldier who owns a farm he works on in his downtime. At that age, you might consider retiring, she giggled. Arad reached his home with Grandma Shear, opening the door. I'm back. Yo, scaly one, you're back. A short, red-haired halfling waved her hand at him, standing proudly on his living room table to appear taller. Arad blinked twice. I didn't invite you. I invited myself, and I came from Merlin, not you. Gotta attend for my most talented student. Leave, make me, fine. What do you want? Visit Vir. Or the best novel reading experience. Chapter 593, Encrypting Magic. Chapter 593, Encrypting Magic. Arad took his shoe off and walked inside, walking past Lilia. You give up easily, don't you? I'm not going to start a fight inside my house. He looked back at her. I know I can't take you down with one hit or even restrain you. Lilia jumped from the table, landing on the couch, putting one leg on the other and her hands behind her head. Then I'm resting here until Merlin's come back. What do you need from her? He walked to the other room to wash. It, she said with a smile. What's a high human? Arad looked at her through the door before turning toward the stairs. Tina, if you're here, we have a guest, an unwelcomed one. What are you saying? Tina looked out of the kitchen. I don't care. We're giving her the best we have. Did you see? Did you hear? Lilia nodded. That's how people should treat their guests. Salt is more expensive, so I'm giving her that with tea. Tina gave Arad a thumbs up. You tall human. Lilia gasped, I drink my tea without any salt or sugar. Who puts? Arad sighed, sitting down and facing Lilia. Answer. They are the same as high elves and elves in the past. They were extremely weak physically in exchange for ridiculous magic. But that isn't the case anymore. Lilia looked at Arad. They can lose anything, to gain anything, albeit it's decided on birth. She's physically weak, but has a lot of magic? No, but that's for her to explain. Lilia looked at him. You can tell high humans apart by their pure white hair and colorful eyes. Blue is sometimes associated with magic, and red with evil. But those are false claims. Arad looked at her for a moment. Wait. You're right, she looked at him. Jack is a high human, and your brother seems to be the son of one as well. Is there anything like a high dragon? No, magic dragons are the closest to a better dragon. She looked at Tina as she walked into the living room. A.O. created the dragons as the perfect living beings. You improve on the best, only get different flavors. Tina put the teacups on the table and Lilia snatched hers, giving it a taste. Well, it doesn't have salt in it, she smiled. But you, woman, she stared at her. It has this, she pulled out a tiny bag of red seeds. I knew it, Lilia growled. Red fennel seeds. Stronger than the normal ones, those don't just cure stomachache and poisoning. They actively force the bowels to move, usually leading to extensive diarrhea and dehydration, even death if consumed in a large amount. Don't worry, I only added enough to give you a bad day. There is no need for me to even worry. Lilia looked at her. It won't affect me, even if I ate the seeds for dinner. She tapped her stomach. I've been perfecting my creations for untold eons. This won't harm me. She downed the tea at once, flicked her finger, and the cup got refilled on its own. What was that? Conjure tea, a spell I created in the past. Lilia smiled, waving her hand, and a whole basket of bakery and sweets appeared out of nowhere. Conjure Crunch, one of my favorites. Magic can do that. Tina looked at the basket. You store the ingredients in a timeless space, then create a formula to cook and prepare everything in the stopped time before pulling it out. Lilia started explaining how the spell works as Arad took a sip out of his cub. So, what did you come to teach her? Lilia looked at him and pulled a book out of nowhere. This is for you. I'll give her a copy as well. Magic Encryption by Lilia? He read the title of the brick-thick book. It details 40 different methods to encrypt your magic so other people can't dispel or steal it, like what happened before. You can do that with magic. He looked at her, flipping the book's pages. It does have those methods, but I recommend you create your own encryption to be safe. I'll be staying in Alina for the time being to teach you and her, so visit me each day you have time. Doma, can I mix the void's telepathic language with some curses? I can help you make an encryption that none would crack, Doma replied with a smile. Her curses are volatile and dangerous to the inexperienced user, so no one even wants to take her power, but it's still a new thing for her to learn. Do you have a place to stay in? You can take the room to the left? Arad looked at her. Bet milk her for every drop of knowledge possible. That's power after all, and I hate losing my powers. Ah, no, I already have a place to stay in. She stood, flying over the table and looking at them as she floated upside down. I'll be staying at Kane's house, the herbalist old man. A lot of dangerous people stay with him? Arad remembered Caden, as if he isn't as more dangerous. Lilia shook her head. By the way, how was the labyrinth? Got a few levels off it, but no items to speak of. Arad sighed. Well, Since trying to bring Amber back was a side effect, I got that magic ball I blew Vlad with. That one, Lilia started thinking. You lack the energy reserve and time magic to make it stable on your own. It's a spell beyond human reach, but not that far away from the best of dragons. Really? He stared at her. The upper limit of dragons is higher than humans. Isn't that common knowledge? Or did you expect those two-legged humanoids to rival the mountain-tall, elemental-breathing, raging balls of destruction? With magic, everything is possible. Arad looked at her. Listen, dragons are smarter than humans. They can learn magic better than them. Lilia looked at him with a grin. Let's give humans a chance, shall we? By what? A healthy, trained adult male versus a newborn wormling. Who wins a struggle with no weapons, just nature at its core? The wormling, Arad replied, even at that age, most dragons are at least as strong as some big cats. That's right, Lilia smiled. You won't tell me a human can beat a tiger. In fact, wormlings' bite force is equivalent to that of crocodiles. Their scales are the same as well. She looked at Arad. Now that I thought about it. Wormlings are just crocodiles with tall legs and wings that spit elemental energy that makes them faster and able to glide through the air, albeit they can't fly yet. Follow current novels on EBA. Chapter 594, Back to the Slave Market. Chapter 594, Back to the Slave Market. Arad, come here for a second. Ayla looked inside the house through the window. You need to try this. What is it? Arad stood, walking out to see her. We've been testing the food for the wedding, and I want you to try it. She pointed toward a large pit fire with a massive pot above it. Why are you cooking outside? Since we need to cook a large amount, the space inside the kitchen won't be enough, she replied. The house is a bit small for all the work, so we're preparing things in the kitchen, then cook them outside where we can light the fire and line the large pots. So it's just a test, Arad approached the pot. Then why all of this? Unlike what they usually cooked in, this pot was massive and probably had enough to feed 20 people. Arad started counting inside his head. You, Mira, Eris, Tina, Isdis, Ray, and Ray. He looked at her. We're 8 less than half this amount. Did you forget, Miriam? You eat 2 people worth, and we have Nina who eats like you, and don't forget Merlin as well. Ayla smiled. You can always eat any leftovers, can't you? Miriam. I thought she hated human food. The last time he remembers her trying to eat, she ended up preferring to hunt monsters. Arad can't blame her, as he also prefers hunting monsters for food. Arad looked at the boiling pot for a dragon. This was no more than a spoonful of soup. Ayla took a ladle, filled it, and gave it to Arad. How is it? Arad took a sip and smiled. It's good as usual, but we should have more lined up. Roasted chickens and some bison meat would do for the guests. I'm sure we'll have some elves, so I'll be preparing something for them as well. Speaking of other guests, who did you invite? I don't really have anyone to invite, but I sent one to Dalla and the Elvish Queen. I also sent one to the slave market owner and the handler there, she smiled. Now that mentioned it, you're still a slave. Arad looked at her. I wonder why they didn't contact us again. Swash! Zephyr emerged from Ayla's head, looking at Arad. The slave contract has a race detection built in. I'm sure they discovered a few days after the sale that you're a dragon and gave up on interfering. Wait, what? Arad gasped. They knew I'm a dragon. Zephyr giggled. Of course they would. You don't want to sell a slave to a disguised devil, would you? She looked at him. Albeit dragons are a problem, once you sell them a slave, they consider it their property, and trying to tell a dragon what to do with his property is the same as asking for your whole city to be blown apart. So they think Arad would blow Alina if they said anything, pretty much. We should check on them, Arad said, with a tired face. Knock? Knock? Is anyone here? Arad pushed the slave market door open, walking inside with Ayla behind him. Welcome to Out Agley! The old man handler walked out with his usual smile, but the moment he saw Arad, a gasp escaped his throat. Sir Arad? Why are you scared? Arad looked at him. I don't bite The handler pulled a handkerchief to wipe the sweat off his old wrinkly forehead. By any chance, are you here to buy another slave? No. I just came to check on you. Did you receive Ayala's letters? Arad looked at him. Letter? He gasped, looking toward the back. Silas, pull the mailbox. Now? Immediately, a woman called from the back. Sorry, but we only expect mail once a week. People usually only ask about pricing, so we don't expect anything serious to come in. He looked at Ayala. You could have mailed us to the magic address link. Magic what? Arad and Ayala looked at him, and the handler blinked. Ayala, remember the first course once you got enslaved? The magic charm. Ayala remembered a woman teaching them a magic circle once she got enslaved, but since she at the time wasn't that proficient in human language, she could barely make heads or tails of what she was saying. Ayala closed her eyes like this. Yes, the handler replied. We give this to all the slaves to call us back secretly in case they got abused, but many simply use it to keep in contact with us. Arad looked at him. You okay, speaking about it in front of me? It's an assurance for the slave. Each master must accept it. But I doubt you'll mind. Your contract is still clean. Long story short. Alla looked at the handler. What do you know about Arad? The handler looked at her with a worried face. That he's a young void dragon, vampire, and a type of werewolf, but has an angel sealed inside him. Arad blinked twice, less surprised they knew about him, and more appealed by an angel making an appearance out of the woods. Doma, I'm sure he's talking about you. About that, I did have a spell that hides my nature so people wouldn't chase you and me with pitchforks as they sense flowing curses, she said with a giggle. Come on, it would have been more realistic if they thought I'm a devil with how many curses I have. Why an angel? Couldn't you put something normal? It's just what I put when I was little. Come on, Arad. Angels use holy magic and devils use curse magic. Those are totally different. You're right, Arad sighed. Sorry if we intruded on your privacy. The magic of the contracts acts on its own, the handler said with a worried face. Don't worry about it, Arad replied. We only came to check on you. Sir, the woman rushed from the back. There are 2 letters from Lady Ayala, one for you and one for the owner. She gasped. What they say? I only opened yours, but it's an invite to Arad's noble party and her marriage with him. The handler blinked twice, gasping. Wait? Really? He looked back at them. You 2 are getting married? Arad nodded. The handler looked at Ayala with a dragon. Yeah, is something wrong with him? Do you know he wrestled werewolves, punched vampires, and recently threw a whole labyrinth into the sky and blasted an entire vampire kingdom? Wait, how do you know about the last one? Some of our slaves live by the kingdom's borders, and they reported a flying obsidian dragon that blew the vampires with an opal gem of light. You've been named Uranus, the first star of the night. How do you know that was me? I saw you fly in that direction, he replied, and the timing aligned. We do a lot of detective work to bring justice to our slaves, so finding that wasn't hard. This chapter is updated by https://chapter 595, A Masked Guest by the Winds. Libret, you're really meticulous for a slave market. I expected this investigation level from the guards, not here. Arad looked at the handler. We're under harsher eyes from His Highness King Baltos than the nobles ruling cities, the handler replied. And, the woman approached from the back, blowing a kingdom of vampires is bound to stir the powers of the world. It's not for a human to say to a dragon, but be careful. The bigger I am, the more attention I'm going to draw. Arad replied, and it isn't the people's attention that's dangerous. You're right, a masked kid said, walking through the front door, a long spear hanging on his back. Arad froze for a second. This voice, he turned. I've seen you before on our way to the Elvish Kingdom. You know him. Ayala looked at Arad, the Wind Devil, the 4th ranked. Arad looked at him. I'm the 3rd. Not that it matters. We aren't ranked by strength, but with achievements. The Wind Devil replied, looking at Ayala and the handler. I'm Chris. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. The handler bowed. What brought you to our establishment? The White Tiger Laura. She's supposed to be at sale here, the Wind Devil asked. She indeed is, he looked at him, but it's rare for someone to ask by name. The Wind Devil pulled a necklace made of fangs and showed it to him, the sign of her tribe. Her parents want to buy her freedom, and I'm just the delivery man. I'll bring her at once if she confirms the necklace is genuine. Well, proceed with a contract that dissolves with her parents' signature. The handler bowed to the Wind Devil and then to Arad. Please excuse me for a moment. He then rushed to the back. Boy, how are you doing? Zephyr popped out of Ayala's hair and looked at the Wind Devil with a smile. You didn't grow a finger. Mistress Zephyr, it's been a while, he kneeled. How have you been? You know him as well. Ayala looked at her. She's the one who taught me how to use wind magic and my spear. The Wind Devil replied, She's also the one who protected me from the Hell Gate when I was first born. He has an elf body, but a devil's soul. The Hell Gate opened right after he was born to suck him, but I protected him. Zephyr replied his mother mated with a man unknown to her that he was a devil, and so this kid was born. Wait, so you're an actual devil? Yes, I never tried to hide it. People even know me as the Wind Devil, he replied. This mask created by Mistress Zephyr is the only thing hiding me from the Hell Gate. It's a massive bone gate that will open if he takes the mask off. Chains will fly out to chain and drag him into hell. Zephyr added, But worry not. It's just that the world rejects devils from the mortal realm to protect mortals. There are no exceptions. The best rules are those without exceptions. The Wind Devil looked at them. I'm but a kid, but my power already pushes me to the higher ranks of mortals. I can't imagine the horrors if there was an exception to no one staying here permanently. Devils mostly stay in the mortal world until their summoner runs out of mana. This also caps their strength, so it's a good balance, Zephyr smiled. Just so you know, my curse is the wind that ruins crops and rips houses off their bases. I'm the typhoon that curses kingdoms into oblivion. The Wind Devil looked at Arad. Well, speaking of kingdoms and nobles, Arad smiled. I'm officially becoming a noble and marrying soon. Care to attend? I'm a stranger to you. The more, the better. Who won't love to have one of the top-ranked adventurers attend their noble party in marriage? Arad smiled. It's put a good show of power. You're smart. The Wind Devil giggled. People might underestimate a lone adventurer no matter how strong they were, but if they thought he had friends to avenge him, no one would dare stand against him. Just like Alcott. Arad smiles. You mess with him, and the dragons come in ready for war. You're the same, aren't you? The Wind Devil smiled. I saw you blow that vampire kingdom, and there are 20 great worms in your forest currently. Your house is one of the safest places in the world. I can't be in 2 places to protect everyone, and even if I could, I won't be able to be in 3 places. It's better to have people to trust with your back, Arad said, walking toward the couch and taking a seat. Am I wrong? No. The first star of the night, Uranus. The Wind Devil giggled. What a name. It's rare that people give someone a decent nickname. The news is spreading fast. Arad scratched his head. You blew the kingdom of the vampires to cinder, a threat that the whole world worried about, and you came out of nowhere and blasted them to the sky. It's not just rumors. All the kingdoms of the world are already talking about you and who should take your power. He stared at Arad. No one can steal my power. Arad stopped. In the future, give me a week for now. They could. He didn't learn encryption yet. I'm not talking about stealing your powers. It's about who gets to keep you as a weapon living in their kingdom. Offers and threats would start coming toward you soon. Let them come, Arad smiled. I'll just send them back. You would expect the human kingdom or the elves to win. The Wind Devil looked at Arad. But it seems that the free wilds of Beast's savannah are the ones taking the lead. A powerful force of nature should be ruled by nature. That's their argument. How do you know? Arad looked at him. Unlike you, I have a lot of contacts, the Wind Devil smiled. And the meeting happened right after you blew the vampires. They're fast, and they want to relocate you to the mountainous region of the beasts' savanna to live. The Wind Devil looked at Arad. They are treating you like a giant monster that should be given a piece of nature and left alone. I'm not moving, Arad sighed. To them, you're a wild animal that should return to nature. A red dragon would burn one city after the other. Take hours or days to finish the deed, yet you dropped a spell blasting the whole thing at once. Chris stood as he sensed the handler approaching. Give the dragon enough food and gold, and he'll sleep for centuries on his pile of treasure. For rulers that only live about a century, that's good enough to rid them of the responsibility and the headache of dealing with you. They just want to push it to the next generation, Aela mumbled. The Lion King rules the wilds. The throne is handed by battle, so it's certain he'll one day die fighting for his throne. Chris nodded. That's my guess as well. He just doesn't want to deal with a kingdom-blasting dragon. It's kinda sad. Aela looked at Arad. Humph, Cheers snorted. They fell of grace when Maharaja left to her throne in the Hells. Arad blinked. It's Agnar's warlock patron, the Black Jaguar? Yes, the eater of the gods, queen of the Rakshasa. Even in the Hell, she still stands at the top of the food chain. Sounds strong, Arad smiled. The source of this content is EAHE. H.R.T. Tate, Chapter 596. She's back. Chapter 596, She's Back, Littered. It looks beautiful, isn't it? Kinryu smiled. They might be soldiers, but they are quite skilled, don't you say? Arad looked at the massive building. How did you even build this? He started with a dumbfounded face, seeing a keep built at the mountain peak. The chromatics had a brown dragon, and we got a skilled copper one. With molding magic, they bent the dirt and stone to form it. How long does it take to have this fine control? Over centuries of practice, you might be able to get the vague shape in a few tries, but Kinryu approached the wall, touching it. Look, you can see engravings with art on each block. Arad looked closely, seeing drawings of dragons, elves, and poems engraved between the seemingly natural cracks. It's even better than I expected. It's how a dragon flexes his skills. Kinryu smiled, looking back at the copper dragon that made it. You topped yourself again this time, Gatomri. I hate to admit it. He looked toward the brown dragon, but it won't be possible without his pure earth magic. I never had such amazing clay to work with in my life. Kinryu, what's this? Arad looked at the wall, noticing a peculiar drawing of a dragon getting punched from the sky by an ape-shaped being. Right beside it is another depiction of the ape swinging a dragon by the tail at a wall. Pithekos dynamis, Gatomri looked at Arad. It's a demonic ape that preys on young dragons that go astray, wandering away from the nest before their age closes. A story to scare the young ones just like humans do. Arad smiled, looking at the wall. But that thing is real. Kinryu looked at Arad. It's a monster that preys on dragons before they reach adulthood and get stronger. Those apes develop the same elemental powers as the dragons they consume, so if one ate a red dragon, it'd start breathing fire and punching with it. Have you ever faced an item that prevents you from using your draconic powers? Gatomri smiled. Those are made from those apes' chains had the claws burned in their molten steel to give it those properties. And the apes themselves had that power. Kiryu smiled. One punch and you'll feel weaker. Take another and you won't be able to move. With a third, you'll be paralyzed and get eaten alive. Gatomri looked at Arad. Be careful if you faced one. Take it down from a distance and try to kill it in one hit. You won't find them around the human territory. They always chase their food, so they are touring around the star mountains of the dragons, Kinryu explained. I won't want to face an angry ape. Arad could imagine it. An ape monster that preys on dragons, even if he can beat it. He isn't thrilled about meeting one. Kinryu looked back as the human architects approached, their jaws open. How did this happen? We built it. Kinryu smiled. You still have the castle to finish on your own, but that is for later. Get to filling the place, he pointed at the keep with his thumb. We don't provide furnishing, of course. Hoff rushed inside to inspect the rooms while the other half went into the city to buy the standard furnishing. I can build them, Mira approached. That would take time. One of the architects looked at her, and it will be a massive amount of work. It can't be good for your health. Fine, she sighed. I did want to make custom furnishing, but it can't be helped. Follow me to the shop. I do have some on sale. Wait, what? The architect looked at her. Arad smiled. She makes most of Alina's furnishing market. Really? They looked at her. Wait, let me check something. The architect rushed back into his tent, taking a look through papers. It's true, he gasped. He walked out with a smile on his face. Sorry I didn't notice it earlier, Lady Mira. He looked at the paper again. Most of the castle's beds, cabinets, desks, and even the royal throne are imported from Alina. You're the carpenter who made them. Mira smiled. You're the one who said we shouldn't waste time, get to fill the place. I'll work on the woodwork of the other buildings. Merida arrived at Arad's house the next day, walking inside, searching for him. Aela, did you see Arad? She asked, knocking on the door and walking inside. He's out hunting for meat. A flock of wyverns landed on the mountains, and he needs to thin them out a bit. Aela wiped her hands dry and walked out of the kitchen, leaving the rest of the work to Tina, Ray, and Ray. How are your grandparents? They are doing well, Merida replied with a smile. Did you come for what we talked about before? Yes. Roberta got me the shipment late at night. She smiled. You can come and pick the clothes you want. Aela smiled. Did you finish Arad's set? Do you know how many clothes that ate? Almost enough for 2 people. Merida stared blankly. Arad is huge after all, Aela smiled. It's almost impossible to find clothes that fit him now. All those muscles I needed to get a new mannequin carved, Merida sighed. How did you get one made in such a short time, and how did they even make something the size of Arad? They didn't. Merida looked away. Merlin managed to pull a naked stone statue in one wave of her staff. How in the hell did she? I don't know. She always dodged the question. Knock, knock, knock. As they talked, they heard a knocking on the door. I'll go see who it is. Aela stood approaching the door. Click. She opened it, seeing a massive cat-like golden eye staring directly at her, blocking the whole door. The green scales at the edges made it clear who that was. It's been a while, Clog said with a smile, her breath almost pushing Aela back into the house. Huh? Aela gasped. Ha! She cried. How did you get into the village? You didn't stomp anything, did you? She looked outside. I'm not stupid. I made sure to only step on the roads, Clog replied with a smile. No, 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 look, Aela pointed. Your claws dug a trench where you walked, and your tail already smashed some of the village's outer walls. Ha! Clog looked back. Isn't the road supposed to be walked on? Not for a dragon that weighs as a mountain. And what about the fence? Keep your tail up enough not to hit it. You're asking a lady to walk with her tail up? You all look the same. Don't crush the village. There is a reason they didn't get in. She pointed at the other chromatic dragons standing outside. You're the ones who told me I can go in. She glared back at them and they looked away. Aela sighed. It can't be helped that you can't shift into a human. Sit outside with the rest of the dragons until Arad comes back. The noble party will start tomorrow at the evening. Time quickly passed, and the party came. Arad looked at the mirror. Those clothes look funny, he sighed. They suit you, Aela smiled in the back as she stood with her arms lifted, the 2 maids, Ray and Ray, strapping her corset. I feel like they would rip with one move. Arad lifted his arm. The black and white clothes were a bit too tight around his shoulders. It's my first time making such a big one. Merida stared at him as she wore her leggings. Click. The door opened and Amber walked it. With a swift move, she pushed the door to close behind her. They need clack. The door closed and she cried, jumping in place with tears in her eyes. Awa-wawa. She turned around, blowing on the air. Out of nowhere, 2 massive red and semi-transparent butterfly-like wings appeared behind her back. The wing's edge was bent and twisted. Mira looked at her again. This is the 7th time you closed the door on them. I told you, didn't I? Zephyr said, sitting on the desk in front of the window, brushing her hair. Always face the door before closing it? I can't help it, Amber cried. I'm not used to it. Do you know how expensive that body was? The fire spirit is stingy. Zephyr looked at her. Try harder not to damage it. Sorry, Amber looked down. How much did it cost? Erod looked at Zephyr. If you're thinking money, we spirits doesn't use that. It has no meaning to us, Zephyr replied. I did pay for it, and that's all you need to know. Why can't you tell me, since it's between us high spirits? Zephyr replied, shaking her head and looking at her long, flowing hair. Nice. Spirits trade in mana, Aela looked at Arad. She probably paid a portion of her power to the fire spirit for the body. That isn't it? Zephyr sighed. New novel chapters are published on Dariate Chapter 597, The Noble Party. A Chaos Start. Arad looked at Amber. You're doing well, considering everything. You didn't get smaller when the door closed on your wings. I can barely hold this magic, and it takes a toll on my mana reserve. She took a step forward. Crack, she rammed her small toe on the table edge. G-A-A, she cried, her body disappearing in a puff of smoke and fire. A tiny, palm-sized fairy emerged. Arad approached her. Are you okay? I might have broken something, Amber cried, curling into fist-sized ball. You're fine. Zephyr looked at her. That body is more durable than you think, but you still feel the pain. She flew from where she sat to Amber's side, patting her back. Should I get you to Lydia for healing? Arad looked at them. No, I'll be fine, she transformed and waved her hand. A large puff. With a puff, she got back to a humanoid size. Why don't just stay in your fairy form? It's convenient. Zephyr looked at her. No way I'm letting people see me like that. Amber gasped. Would it matter? Zephyr sighed. You're a fire elemental now, and that is merely a vessel, so you won't burn everything around you. I'm a human. You were, Zephyr mumbled. Canoak. Arad, Tina called. Someone is looking for you. He says, why don't you come drink with them? Who's he? Did he leave a name? He said, his name is Charlie, Tina replied, been mumbling about himself being a prince. But that doesn't seem the case. He has no guards. Wait! Isdis, who was in the back in her underwear trying to decide between two dresses, gasped, what's he's doing here? Did father already arrive? I'll go look. Arad approached the door. The black one looks better on you, and it matches with your dark wood tool. It's called a violin. Well, it matches. Arad opened the door and left. Isdis looked at the dresses, and I was about to go with the white one for some contrast. She threw the white back on the bed and started wearing the black one. Aela giggled. You're the one who spent an hour looking at them. Arad walked through the hallway and found Tina. Where is he? I kept him standing outside, she replied. No prince comes like that. I thought I asked Aela to buy you a few dresses. I went with her and chose some, Tina replied. But for now I'm working as a maid. Nobles are coming from everywhere to the party. If any one of them annoyed you, tell me and I'll throw them across the mountains. Tina smiled. I'm sure you would. She looked back at his face. He wasn't joking about throwing them across the mountain part. He'll do it. Don't throw them. They'll die. Click. She opened the door. Arad, it's been a while. Charlie waved his hand, standing alone outside with a smile on his face. It's a bit cold out here, won't you say? What brought you here? Arad sighed. You should be arriving a few hours later. Wait, he's the prince. Tina gasped in the back. Surprise, I told you that. Nobody would have guessed. He looked at her from Arad's side. So? Arad looked at him. Come inside. The party didn't start yet, but you could sit and wait. It was a majestic feathery blessing that came from the skies, giving the horses a chance to see the heaven's beautiful gates. He looked at Arad with a passive, emotionless face. A griffin snatched the horses, and the impact shattered a large part of the wheels. Only one horse survived, and that's the one I came on. Wait! Arad gasped. It was a griffin attack. You should have said that earlier. Arad rushed out, flying into the sky as he transformed. What a majestic beast. Charlie stared at him. Would he know where they are without me? He can follow their smell. He should have picked some on you, Tina said, moving out of the door. Prince Charlie, please get inside and rest with the early guests. Thank you, beautiful maid of the dragon. He bowed, stepping inside. Where is the guest room? To left. Tina walked forward and stood at the door, opening it for him. This is it. Please take a seat and rest. Master Arad would make sure your parents arrive safely. With a happy face, Charlie walked into the room, feeling his blood instantly drying up. You bastard, you're cheating. Gojo growled, ho, ho, ho. Kane laughed, combing his beard. You're naive, young one, Caden growled at the side, looking at the cards in his hand. The damnable luck. How foolish. The Wind Devil put a card on the table. I'm taking this win. I'm really not good at this, Gray smiled, scratching the stitches on his face. What do you say? Jack squinted his eyes, sweating. I might lose this one. What are the rules again? Kinryu whispered to Kane. I never played this before, this wine. Grant took a sip, his bald head reflecting the light from the ceiling. It's dwarven fire wine. It's my win. Abel smacked his hand down. Look at this. You can't top it. Tap. Kane put his hand down. A royal flash. I win. Cling. Caden pulled his sword, pointing it at Kane's neck. You're cheating? It's not cheating if I don't get caught. I caught you. Charlie looked at them, shaking in place. What's this? Why is it so chaotic? And is that Caden, the strongest of the world powers? What is he doing here? They all went silent, staring at Charlie. Toothpick, who are you? Caden stared at him. You looked at me, didn't you? Sorry, I was just surprised to see someone pull their weapon here, he replied, shaking in place. Caden looked at his hand. Sorry. My bad. He sheathed the blade, but instead clenched a fist full of demonic power. I'm going to smack him with this. New novel chapters are published on Breard Min Chapter 598. The Noble Party, I Kleck. The maid's door opened, and Arad walked inside, the king and queen behind him. Tina walked out toward them. Master Arad, how did it go? Don't know, he replied. The griffin ran away the moment it sensed me approaching, and I didn't think chasing it would help anyone. Yeah, King Baltos said, wiping the sweat off his forehead. It's a wild monster. We can't waste time on it now. He looked around. Are there any chairs we could sit on and rest a bit? Yeah, the queen sighed, leaning on Baltos, her head spinning. It was a rough trip. Tina blinked, looking at them for a second. What happened to them? I carried their carriage with the guards to here. He looked outside at the guards lying on the ground like dead fish. They couldn't handle it. Ah, that's it. Tina giggled. Arad can be a bit rough sometimes. Get them a place to sit. Arad walked upstairs, and Tina led the king and queen to the guest room. Kleck. She opened the door. D. Jack swung his arm, throwing a card at Charlie. Charlie dodged with a smile. Tack. The card passed by the king's face, sticking to the door's frame. You sack of horseradish. Charlie rushed forward, getting behind Jack and lifting him up. Crack! Then suplexed him on the ground. The queen looked at the card stuck at the door and then at her son. Charlie, calm down, King Baltos growled. Charlie, you're getting in a fight? He shouted, and both Charlie and Jack looked at him. Why didn't you wait for me? He threw his mantle away and cracked his knuckles. What? Jack gasped as he saw the king jump at him. Boy, get the arm. Yes, father. Baltos grabbed Jack's right arm and Charlie grabbed the left one. Wait, you two, Jack gasped. Boy, kick. Baltos lifted his leg up and kicked down with his son toward Jack's ankles simultaneously. Crack. Jack's legs lifted up as the father and son slammed him down. Jack gasped, and the wind kicked out of his chest. Drop on him! Baltos lifted his elbow up, about to drop on Jack's chest, but suddenly 2 hands grabbed him and Charlie by the hair. The two stopped, looking up to see the queen staring at them with a smile. Come with me! She dragged them away. Jack opened his eyes, feeling a sharp pain across his head. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Hey, you!" Kane looked at him. "You're finally awake. The other guests arrived." "What?" Jack looked around, seeing the guest room almost empty. "What did happen? You got drunk with the prince and fought. Finally, he and the kick gave a solid hit, enough to knock you out," Kane explained. "It's been almost an hour since then." "Wait? An hour? Did I injure my head?" Jack gasped. "It was more the alcohol than anything else. You're currently fine," Kane stood. "Let's go to the main room." Jack walked behind Kane as he opened the door, showing him the packed main room with countless people. Nobles, merchants, lords, and generals from all parts of the country. "My queen," Grant cried, walking after the elvish queen as her guards pushed him away. "Don't approach the queen," one of them growled. He looked to the side, seeing Isdis sitting with a whole band playing music for the party. "It really started, Jack? You're finally awake?" Lydia approached him. Jack looked at her, wearing a long white dress. "That suits you?" She paused for a second. "Come with me." She dragged him away. Ray and Ray walked into the ballroom, pushing carts full of food through the guests. Jack woke up. Ered appeared behind Kane out of nowhere. "Ha!" Kane gasped, turning back. "You scared me. That looked fake." Ered smiled. "You felt my magic before I teleported here. Does it seem like that?" Kane combed his beard. Poof. Lilia emerged above Kane in a puff of smoke, sitting on his shoulders. "You did," she laughed. "Get off his shoulders." Ered tried to snatch her, but she dodged his hands with ease. "Let her be," Kane smiled. "She's light," Ered sighed. "Don't cry about your back later." "Can I cry about it now?" Kane asked. "No," Ered replied. "How sad are you, Baron Ered?" A man approached him from between the guests. "Excuse me for a moment." Ered left Kane and Lilia heading to talk with the man and the other nobles. The guests stared at them. It was a strange sight seeing the massive Ered towering over the other nobles. They might look to Way the same, but for different reasons. As Ered expected, those nobles only talked about what Alina's lord had already spoken with him about. They want permission to create roads through Ered's territory, push trade, and define borders. "I won't mind roads for trade. It's for the benefit of the people," Ered smiled. "But I'm quite new and naive when it comes to other politics," he smiled. "So, may I call an advisor?" "Of course, go ahead," the nobles replied with smiles. "Yo, Baltos, can you help me here a bit?" Ered called through the room, and everyone froze in place. "You don't address the king like that, and wasn't his presence here just a formal thing? The king is obliged to attend the noble party of each noble that he approves. That usually takes the form of him showing up for a bit, declaring the person in question a noble, and then leaving immediately." All the nobles who didn't know Ered beyond his name thought one thing. He's dead. Baltos glared toward them. "Ered, is something amiss?" He took a step forward. "If one of them is bothering you, we can skip the trial and go directly to the block. You have an axe here, right?" He remembered the last time a noble messed with Ered. That man ended up dead in seconds. He understood well that Ered wasn't a human. He couldn't hold him to human standards. Baltos smiled inside. "Ered is growing. He didn't kill them immediately." "Father," Charlie approached Baltos. "I saw a chopping block outside. It's perfect." The nobles started shaking. It was clear from their voice that the king and prince weren't joking. Read latest chapters at Rearded. Only chapter 599. The Noble Party, i.e. uninvited. Invited guest. Chapter 599. The Noble Party, too, uninvited, invited guest. "I'm not good with politics. I wanted to ask you about it," Ered said, looking at them. "And no, don't use my firewood chopping block for that." Balto smiled as he approached. "So, what is this about?" "I hear business talk." Alina's lord joined in quickly. Mira stood upstairs, staring down in Ered's direction. "What are you doing?" Iris approached her. "Ah, he's talking with the king." Myra blinked, looking back at her. "Who, Ered?" "No, I'm not looking at him." She shook her head. "Come on," Eris giggled. "No need to hide it." "No, really, look at the chairs behind him. They are a bit crooked." Mira pointed. Eris took a look. "You're right now, I can't unsee it. Want to help me take them out?" Mira asked. Nobles are really picky, and I don't want anyone noticing them, especially since this is Arad's house, and I'm the one who made them. Didn't we check everything? Eris scratched her head. They must have got crooked afterward, probably bad nails or glue. Mira walked down with Eris on a mission to sneak some chairs out of the party. Nina approached Arad's house with Jonah and her grandmother reaching toward the door. Is this Baron's Arad house? A voice came from behind them. Nina turned around, seeing a tall woman with long black hair, faintly glowing purple eyes, and skin that seemed to reflect the moonlight as she spoke in a gentle voice. From her clothes, she seemed like a farm girl from the village. You live here? Nina asked. Sorry, but I didn't get an invitation. The woman bowed. But can I get inside? I just want to see him once. Nina stared at her for a second. She didn't feel threatened. Not having an invitation letter while not being someone anyone knows could be dangerous, but with Arad's strength and the countless world-level powers in the house, that was very unlikely. Fine, Nina smiled. But we're informing Tina. The decision is up to her, of course. The woman bowed again, and Nina approached the door. Tina, are you around? Lady Nina, I'm here. Tina immediately rushed toward the door. Did you need anything? Nina pointed at the woman with her thumb. No invitation, but want to get in, Arad said. Everyone is allowed to come in and eat. The only limitation is if it is crowded inside. Tina smiled. But, she stared at the woman. Be careful and mind your words. The king and prince almost just executed some nobles on the spot. That's scary. The woman gasped with a wry smile and looked behind Tina at the bustling ballroom. Jonah and Nina's grandmother walked inside as she looked back. Come in. What are you waiting for? I just got a bad feeling, she smiled, walking inside after them. As if something is amiss. Like what? Left my son alone, and his father isn't here at the moment, she replied. He recently killed some bats in the barn, and I fear he might get bitten by them. Bats. Nina looked at her. Those pesters were dealt with in this area. It's been a while since I heard of them. She thought, I'm getting some people from the guild to investigate and eliminate them. They are dangerous, aren't they? You're right, they transport diseases, and that's a problem, Nina replied, as the two of them walked into the ballroom. Out in the bushes, a pale woman growled, glaring at the keep where Arad was holding his noble party. Don't rush, keep calm. Her eyes glue red as she glared through the window fixed on Arad. I don't know if Lord Vlad survived the blast, but my mission now is clear, search, and destroy. She looked back. I could kill this village and the whole of Alina to empower myself, but that would expose me. I'd lose the surprise attack. She took a deep breath, lying on the ground, prowling around the keep. Keep quiet and to the shadows, strike from the darkness, and send the target to death in a splatter of red. She put her hands together. Charge it. Use all that you have. She closed her eyes, the blood in her body rushing across her veins and bones. I was out on an investigation in the human kingdom. Did I survive the blast with luck? No, it's fate. The Lord of Murder is no more, so it's an offering to Lord Vlad. This fool's blood pleases you. Inside the ballroom, cling. Caden pushed his blade slightly out of its sheath with his thumb, his 6 eyes shifting aside and glaring in the woman's direction. Tap. Cain touched his hand, pushing the sword back in its sheath. Well, calm down. That's a true-born vampire. Caden glared at Cain. There is no need for us to help this time. Cain said, his eyes almost looking like an endless black abyss. Fine. Caden closed his eyes. If anyone dies, it's on you. The music started, and everyone started dancing. In the middle of the room, Arad moved with Aella holding his hand. One step at a time, their shadows danced over the windows. He's a quick learner, Dalla said, sitting beside the elvish queen. Even so, those dance moves are as awkward as I expected. The elvish queen took a sip from her wine glass. His big frame isn't helping him dance with Aella. She's far shorter and smaller than him. Arad spun Aella away, extending his hand to shift to Merida as she was the only one he could see in the room. Mira and Eris were busy sneaking chairs out, and Nina was on the other side of the ballroom, stuffing herself with food. Merlin is actively dodging that halfling called Lilia, and Amber is hiding upstairs as she has shifted into a small fairy. Arad danced with Merida. Her moves were far faster than Aella's sharp and snappy that he could finally relax a bit. It was clear that she had far more skill at it than him. Tap. Arad shifted from Merida, reaching with his hand to the crowds. Mira was supposed to be around, but she still didn't get back. He intended to drag Tina or Dalla if he reached them. One is his maid, and the other is the one who taught him how to dance. That long, smooth, black hair and purple eyes, he couldn't quite comprehend where she came from. Outside, the vampire woman growled. "Damn it, get out of the way," she growled, her blood boiling as it charged in her fingers. "Cattle," she grunted. "I could pierce through her, but that might give him a chance to dodge. I need to make sure he's giving me his back, and that at least one of his wives is facing him, so he won't dodge and attempt to block instead." Tap. Each time Arad was about to get in a straight line between the vampire woman and one of his wives, the woman pulled him aside. Each of her steps looked far too strange for a dance, and he only kept up with her due to his learning speed. "You're quite strong, aren't you?" she said with a smile. "If you're from the village, then you know," Arad replied, trying to step aside, but she pulled him toward her. "Well, that's true," she giggled. "Tall, wide, and strong, you remind me of someone." She looked around at the girls who stared at them, confused. "And you even got a lot around you," from the side of his eye. Arad saw Mira and Eris walk into the ballroom, so he tried to rap the dance out. This only happened to keep it going with no one to dance with. Arad pulled away, but the woman pulled him back into the dance by the hand. "Are you scared of me?" "Don't worry," she smiled. "Relax. You know I need to go dance with them?" He stared at her. "I know," she replied. "I'm taking you for a while. They can wait." She took a step, walking to his back, and then spun him back, sliding into the crowds. Arad stopped, searching for her, but she was nowhere to be found. "Arad," Mira approached him. "Who was that?" "I don't know. I lost track of her. Did you see her?" "She slid between the nobles, but she isn't there anymore." Mira looked around. "Isn't it strange that you, of all people, lost track of her?" The vampire woman outside smiled. Her blood charged, and the perfect situation presented herself. Arad gave her his back with Mira standing right in front of his chest. He either takes the hit, or she dies. On top of that, with how strong a sense of smell vampires got toward blood, she could tell immediately that woman is pregnant. That's even more reason for him to take the hit. Tap. At that moment, a foot landed on her head, gently pushing it down a bit. Who do we have here? The vampire turned as fast as she could, but her head got stomped to the ground. You, that woman, she could see it, stepping on her face. The same woman that danced with Arad glared down at her with glowing purple eyes. The forest burned into darkness as the stars shifted, aligning into a massive dragon eye. Follow current novels on Rio Rehabbed, AF Chapter 600, The Noble Party II, Empress of the Void, Chapter 600, The Noble Party III, Empress of the Void, Ha! The vampire woman spun around, swinging her claws at the woman's leg. Swash, the claws passed across the thin air, causing a dust cloud to rise. Where did she go? She growled. The dust cleared, and she found herself standing in a vast, empty world filled with craters. Who are you? Where are we? I did have multiple names, the purple eyes woman replied with a smile, standing alone, facing the vampire. Call me whatever you like. I bet you I had that name once. Bam. The vampire lunged at her, Astera, guardian of Vlad. She swung her claw at her with a blinding speed. Die nameless, nameless? Is that supposed to be a name? She blocked the vampire's strike with her forearm, not even budging or bothering to move her other hand. Saphikinos Vasilissa Orion. She smiled. The Empress of the clear void of space, welcome to my hunting ground. Crack! She punched Astera in the face, sending her rolling across the wastelands. Murd, the vampire turned around, flying away from Vasilissa. Don't need to fight you anyway. She flew as fast as she could. I need to kill that dragon Arad. She'll just waste my time. Vasilissa sat on the ground. Run as far as you like, she smiled. Food never makes it out of the plate on its own. Astera flew for minutes, and those quickly turned into hours and days through a seemingly endless night without seeing a trace of civilization. Where did she teleport me at this rate? That dragon should be almost at the wedding. She flew up into the sky. Wasteland spanned as far as her eyes could see. No matter where she flew, there was nothing resembling the traces of a humanoid or a monster, not even plants. All she could see were massive craters and exposed ore veins, tired of running away. Vasilissa appeared behind her, sitting on a stone and trimming her nails. Astera turned with a scared face, blasting her with a massive burst of blood. Vasilissa swung her hand, deflecting the blood. Don't waste your blood. You're like a pea spinning around in an empty plate and spitting your juices out. Who are you calling a pea? Didn't you realize it yet? Vasilissa stood, putting her hands in her pockets as she stared down at Astera, those common clothes of her flapping with the wind. We aren't in the mortal world anymore. You're on my dinner plate. Stop lying. This place is too clean to be the waste of Hades, and it isn't a demiplane. No one can make such a large world, Astera shouted. You're right, Vasilissa smiled. This isn't the waste of Hades, and I don't have the power to create such a vast world. Giving up on your lies so quickly? But I can swallow it. Vasilissa stared at her with glowing purple eyes. If it fits in my stomach, I can eat it whole. The stars in the sky shifted, taking the shape of a massive draconic head with the moon being its eye that glared down. This humanoid body is a mere puppet of my magic, and you're on my dinner plate. Astera looked up with a terrified face. The world zoomed down as she realized it. The massive dragon stared at the whole planet, towering over it as she growled, when the stars shift. You're already inside my stomach, as is this world. She stared at her with an empty face. You can run as long as you want, but neither people, plants, animals, or times exists here. It's a mere place where I bring my praise to eat. What are you? Astera gasped. A void dragon great worm. She looked at her. Several thousands of years ago, I was tasked by the Overgod to protect the world inside my stomach from intruders. You Vampire Lord must have heard of me, right? Magic dragons consist of mainly 3 types. Time dragons who hunt time travelers, disrupt fate. The same dragon exists in the past, present, and future. Light dragons are made of light itself, shining brighter than the sun and flying faster than anything in the world. As their speed is the limit of the world, their strikes carry an almost infinite amount of power, giving them the ability to one-shot almost anything unprotected by a divine. The world doesn't make sense, Vasilissa said. Scholars found that no matter how much magic they counted, there was always a surplus that they couldn't explain. The area has 2,000 mana, but they could only find 10 of it. She took a step forward. That remaining unknown existence is me. Shut up. Astera lunged forward, swinging her fist at Vasilissa. Swash! Vasilissa disappeared, landing on a mountain with a smile on her face. She looked down. You dared point your magic at my son, his wife, and my grandson or granddaughter. Come at me. I'll let you live if you manage to hurt me. You'll die, dragon. Astera screamed. She wasn't by any means confident in her ability to kill a dragon, but she was at least certain of their pride. If this dragon said she'd let her live, if she got one wound, she would. Dragons are too prideful and arrogant to get back on their words. All I need is to get a hit on her. Back at the party, Arad started dancing with Mira the moment they couldn't find Vasilissa. Aella looked to the side, noticing that Gojo was asleep on his chair, leaning on his fist on the table. She approached him. Gojo, wake up! She shook him, and he opened his eyes. She knew it since she lived with Arad for so long. It's rare when a void dragon truly sleeps, even at night. Arad sometimes spends it with his eyes merely closed. It was strange for Gojo to pretend to be asleep, which meant he might have been really asleep. "You really asleep?" she asked. Gojo stared around. "I was just drinking here." He looked at the side, seeing his wine glass half full as he left it. "How did this happen?" "That's why I'm asking." She looked at him. "I know you and Arad rarely sleep. Are you that exhausted? If that's the case, there is an empty room outside where you can get some sleep on a proper bed." Gojo pinched his eyes. "I don't think I am. It feels like a zoned out more than sleep." "Ha ha 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 ha." Swash! Astera flew back, growling as she stared at the laughing Vasilisa flying after her. "Stay in one place," she shouted, extending her arms forward. Blood, barrage, tens of sharp bullets of blood flew out of her fingers, rushing toward Vasilisa. "Is that all you have, vampire?" She waved her hand. Her void rushed through the air and pulled on the one existing between the links and water molecules forming moisture. They turned into oxygen and hydrogen, crackling like fireworks and exploding a fraction of a second later. Astera flew out of the raging blue flames, her half-burned face healing as she grunted. She turned into black mist, phasing through the fire and reaching Vasilisa, swinging a fist at her face. With a grin, Vasilisa grabbed Astera's arms, disintegrating them in the blink of an eye. "Ha!" Astera screamed, her arms healing as she opened her mouth, firing a sharp spear of blood from her throat. Vasilisa dodged the spear with ease, swinging her palm and slapping Astera down. Slap, crack. Astera smacked on the ground, her ears ringing and her entire face numb from the slap. Even her vampiric regeneration was halted by the power of that slap. She unleashed a precise power, just a bit lower than what was needed to blast my head into pieces. Tap. Vasilisa landed in front of her, staring down. "Come, stand up. Don't remain on your knees for long." I'm on my knees. The shock traveled down my spine. No, my whole nervous system got jumbled, thus I can't move, she realized. She was kneeling on the ground, staring straight down with a droll dripping from her lips, half unconscious, half awake, dancing between dreams and reality. Crack. Vasilisa pushed Astera down with her foot, stepping on her face. "Come on, do something, move. You've been sitting there for a whole minute. I'll eat you if I get bored, you know." "Gag! Gag!" Astera screamed, swinging her fist up at Vasilisa's leg. Crackle! Lightning sparked between Vasilisa's legs, smacking Astera before she could finish her swing, sending her flying away with lightning crackling out of her body. All particles in the air have lightning in them. With my void, I can pull that out. She looked at her. "To shut my elemental manipulation, you need to fight me in the void." Astera tried to stand, but her arms disintegrated and her healing couldn't keep up. "What?" Vasilisa stared at her, disappointed. "You're already breaking apart? Vampires are fragile, aren't they?" "Shut up," Astera growled. "Let's end this. Time flows here differently, but I am still wasting it by prolonging this." Vasilisa smiled. "Let me tell you something? I would have eaten you anyway, even if you injured me. You're fighting in vain." Astera paused. "But you said, 'If you injured me,'" Vasilisa replied. "What you're fighting now is my avatar, a humanoid puppet made of flesh and bones, a projection magic. You were beaten by the upper limits of a human body." As she said that, Vasilisa's body flew into the night sky, and it was then that Astera realized those stars aren't just taking the shape of a dragon head, they were a real dragon head. The stars moved like a massive jaw in the sky. "I'm here. Come at me if you can." Astera stared up in silence. "I guess you are still a mere pea on my plate." A beam of pure light descended from the sky, blasting a crater on the ground and erasing Astera. Visit Reet Core for the best novel reading experience.